Welcome to our podcast. This is Skylar and Garci, aka Aeolian and Yoshi.
Yep. Welcome to the NoggleCast. We are the jackasses of magic.
And this is where our name comes from. So today we're going to be reviewing Theros as our pilot episode. And we'd like to start off by discussing a little bit about the feel of the set. So what's your take on that?
I'm hoping it feels like cardboard, to be honest. But beyond that, from what I've looked
Beyond
at...
the tactile feel of the set.
Cardboard smells good. Everything's perfect.
Fresh off the press, man.
Yeah, hopefully.
Or fresh out the pack. The new pack
that
smell,
new
man.
pack smells
Every Magic
amazing.
player can appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that...
new pack smell.
If you've never smelled a new pack, you don't know what you're missing. But as far as the feel of the set, from what I've looked at the spoiler that got released early for some weird reason.
Someone hacked, like, Moto Beta or something?
Probably something. My personal impressions of it is that it looks like it's going to be a much slower format than what we've been used to for the last couple of sets that came out.
Yeah. We've had Boros and other...
Boros
aggressive,
cool,
yeah,
like, just insane.
Before that was
like,
Rakdos.
Yeah,
Like,
and
so
just,
for the past year,
yeah.
and in Standard too.
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit slower. I kind of think that, unfortunately for me, they were going for an ancient Greek feel, and I just don't really feel it.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure about that. I mean, because we've got the icons, you know, they throw in the Gorgons and Minotaurs and whatever other stuff. So, I mean, they've got the icons,
Yeah.
but it's kind of, I don't know, maybe it's hard to establish the flavor, because some cards are very flavorful.
Right.
And then some of them just don't, like, what is this trying to do, really? Like, it's a Gorgon or whatever, and it has Death Touch, but, like,
yeah,
know,
I think that it feels almost like it's a little bit...
some of it's a little contrived.
Yeah, it's like disjointed
Like-
almost. Like, we're gonna give you this, we're gonna give you that, and we're not gonna really focus on anything.
Yeah, and so that pretty much covers the flavor and the setting
Right.
of, like, what they're trying to go for, and some of how they establish it is through, like, the mechanics that they're
Right.
bringing back. And so our returning mechanics, the first one we got is Scry,
Yeah.
which I'm a big fan.
Now,
of Scry.
I've always been a big fan of Scry. I
do
loved
love
it
my
when
Scry.
I loved it when it first came out. I think that my biggest problem with Scry in this set is that they really didn't take it into any new real territories.
Yeah, they didn't. Like, we've kind of said off the podcast, like, they introduced the one creature that is like, when you scry it does this. And so, like, but they spoiled that got spoiled early on.
Yeah, exactly.
So people were thinking, like, oh, there's going to be some cool effects.
Yeah.
You know, like, we can have, like, a Scry Matters.
Right.
But basically it's like, no. Scry matters because it's Scry.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where it is.
But the other problem I have with Scry in the set is that when you look at the other mechanics, and we're going to be talking about this here in a second, but when you look at the other mechanics, they're all creature mechanics.
Yeah.
And it feels like they realized, like, at the last second, like, oh my gosh, we don't have a spell mechanic. What can we throw in there? And then somebody just said, Scry. It's like, bingo, that's it.
Give this guy a promotion.
Yeah, so then they started putting all this Scry stuff in there, and there's just nothing about it.
Yeah. Like, some of it's just kind of tacked on.
Exactly.
And they've done that before with other mechanics. Like, I remember reading, what was it? I want to say it was in Gatecrash. Was it the Frontline Medic or something?
Right.
They were, like, randomly just kind of tacked on some, like, abilities to them.
Yeah.
And it seems like they did that to other cards. They're like, where can we put Scry?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, okay, this'll...
You know,
we'll put
but
this here.
one thing that I remember from a while back reading an article was that Mark Rosewater was talking about, you know, when a mechanic returns, usually when it returns, there was extra places to explore within that mechanic.
Yeah.
There's
They
nothing
didn't-
really
they didn't
in
do that.
Yeah, they didn't do that in this set, and it really is
But
very disappointing.
We do have to give them some benefit because it is the first set of a block. So
True.
they could explore more, but it doesn't look like they're going to, or they would have done something.
Yeah, usually the first set of a block should set up what they're going to do
like,
with it.
It may happen, like there may be a Scry Matters or something, but they're not doing it yet.
Yeah.
And so we don't have that, and the other two sets are small sets, so they don't have like another 249 cards to
exactly.
to try it with.
And that's really what's kind of scary. So
we do, like, I mean, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
So the second returning mechanic, which is not actually a returning mechanic, is devotion. It's chroma. A fixed chroma.
Yeah, it's a fixed chroma.
Permanence only.
Yeah. I mean, the original chroma was kind of cool. I mean, it debuted, was it Future Sight? Was one of the first kind of Phosphorus Feast, I believe it was. And then it really respawned in, I think, Eventide, if I remember correctly. And it was chroma was a kind of an interesting mechanic to use mana cost matters, basically.
Yeah.
And I like that. And I do like devotion. I think that really makes it a lot simpler, where I don't have to look at,
Yeah, it's just permanence.
Yeah,
like,
no, I don't have
really
to.
all they wanted to do.
Yeah, I don't have to look here, there, because all these different places to try to figure it out.
That was my question too. Is like whenever I'd heard people say, well, it's just chroma again, and I'm like, well, then why didn't they use chroma? And everyone else asked that too, and well, that's why.
Right.
Because we want to focus on just your permanence.
Exactly.
And especially with. And, this is kind of a sore spot with me, and I think a lot of Magic players are, this is really divisive, but the whole New World Order in Magic, like, so much of it is creature-based.
Yeah.
So the whole, like, permanence matter was kind of a big deal. Like, they're just like, this is your battlefield.
Yeah.
They want to make it matter even more.
Exactly.
And more so, which is fine, because you can go back to Modern or Legacy, and you don't have all it is turn and dude sideways.
Exactly.
But Standard, that's how it's kind of going to be for now.
True. But I mean, I like the way that they've approached it, and it makes it feel like, okay, now I need to focus more on a singular color.
Yeah.
After a block where it was focused on 2 and 3. But my problem with it is probably the same with you. Yeah, exactly.
They have 30 or 20 multicolored cards?
Yeah, they have 20 gold cards in the set that make absolutely no sense. A lot of the cards only have either 1 or 2 mana symbols in their casting cost anyways. So it really devotion almost feels like it was kind of just tacked on again too.
And that's not like the multicolor takes away from that, but it does kind of put you off in a weird direction. What are we doing here?
Exactly.
It doesn't stop devotion, but it kind of puts it on a weird track.
Yeah, because devotion says
we are supposed to be in a monocolor set.
Yeah.
And has significantly more multicolor than a normal.
Yeah, then I was thinking that it was even going to have. If they was going to have multicolored, I would have expected maybe 5 or 10 cards at the most.
And I think maybe a reason they did that is to kind of ease into the monocolor.
Right.
They're gonna, because from what I heard too, when they chose the lands, they chose the Gatecrash colors.
Yeah.
The colors that they used in Gatecrash, because they wanted to give them more time in Standard. Because the RTR ones had 3 months before, whereas that's all Standard was. And so now we've got the opposite. Gatecrash has 3 months, where that's all we got, is those cards. So maybe they're trying to ease into it, but I also feel like the sets shouldn't, what previous set there is in Standard should not affect, they should have it in mind, but it should not, directly affect the next set. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and that's where my problem with
because
it
the
is.
sets are distinct.
One of the things I think about Theros when I looked at the spoilers, it feels like it's watered down Magic.
I
mean, the power level isn't as high as what we've came to expect from starting with even just Scars coming into Innistrad, coming into
Scars we have the whole freaking Callblade fiasco. So let's not talk about power level there.
But even if you look at Scars of Moradin, because we're not talking about Zendikar block where Callblade really came into effect because of Jace and all that stuff. But you look at the core sets for Standard coming into it. You got there's at least some powerful cards.
Yeah.
When I look at Theros, there's not really much that comes off the top of my head.
I don't know. And a lot of it remains to be seen, because unfortunately there is raw power level, but unfortunately so much is metagame dependent.
Yeah, exactly.
So much.
So we'll see how it goes.
Because there's a lot of stuff like Perforos that we're looking at and we're like, oh, a lot of people are specking on this. This is a cool thing. It may never come to be.
Right.
Or it may be the big deal.
Right.
We'll really just see,
exactly.
what people play and if it's well positioned.
Yeah. But again, with Devotion, it feels similar to Scry, where it's they came up with these really cool mechanics, and then they had to throw something in there just to balance it.
We'll see it more played out over the next 2 sets as they complete the block.
Yeah.
Because there will be... Because coming into it, we don't have that many cards with Devotion.
Yeah.
We're going to have fewer, and so there's going to be more and more with Devotion, giving us more to play with.
Hopefully.
So there may, hopefully, there may be a devotion deck, but we probably won't be seeing it yet, as there's less cards to choose from.
Exactly. So now we're going to talk about at least the new mechanics that have come into play.
The new mechanics are Heroic, Monstrous, and Bestow.
Right.
And starting off with Heroic is...
I think Heroic is a really cool mechanic. I like it. But
what is it? Let's talk about it first.
Okay, well, Heroic basically is they're creatures that have a mechanic that says whenever they're targeted of a spell, they gain some kind of bonus. The bonuses vary from like getting +1/+1 counters, getting flying, getting whatever. I think it's kind of an interesting mechanic. I would have chose a totally different name because for me, when I think Heroic, casting a spell on a creature isn't exactly the first thing that comes to my mind.
I kind of feel like Exalted or something would kind of be like Heroic, or maybe even Battle Cry or something.
Yeah,
something like that. It feels slightly more heroic.
But here's my problem with Heroic, and it's going to tie into like Monstrous as well. Is like if you're trying to make a set where you have heroes and monsters, shouldn't they fight together, and shouldn't their mechanics be kind of like meshed together somehow?
Yeah,
you know, casting a spell at a creature doesn't really feel that heroic to me, and it really doesn't feel like that you're doing anything against these monsters.
Yeah,
that are
it does.
you.
It has like it's completely irrelevant to monsters. Like it affects it in no way.
Exactly,
they aren't opposites.
Right.
Like they're just two unique mechanics.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean,
they really are.
Technically, if I was building the heroic mechanic, I would have given it like creature ability, where it's like whenever this creature is blocked by a creature with greater power, it gets something.
Yeah.
That feels heroic to me.
And
it's like
you'd be fighting monsters.
You're fighting monsters, and now these
that'd be more flavorful.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like the heroic mechanic, I don't know. I mean, it seemed like it was a given. They kind of had to do it because they wanted the enchantment. Set, and so we're making enchantments now more useful because you can trigger these abilities too.
Right.
And as you'll see when we go through the cards, there are I'm not sure if there's one in every color, but I'm pretty sure there's enchants, like at least a few that just cantrip. Yeah, they have some very minor effects.
There is one in every card,
so you can trigger heroic. Get your minor effect, and it replaces itself. Yeah. So you have little heroic triggers.
And then there's also the ordeals too, which are pretty nice.
Those are legit, man.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, I look at the heroic mechanic, and it kind of feels like almost all the mechanics in this.
It's not very heroic.
It's not very heroic.
It is a mechanic.
It's a mechanic. I think it's cool.
It's not heroic.
But it's not heroic. It doesn't feel like you don't feel like a hero to me just because I cast a spell at you. It's like. When I think of a hero, I mean,
I'm gonna buff my festering newt. Like that's not very heroic. It's a festering newt.
Right, exactly. It's like what's going on with this? So I don't know. It just seems like it's like one of the stupidest names that they could have came up with.
And speaking of stupid names, our next mechanic is Monstrous. Which I like the mechanic. It's pretty cool. I love
the mechanic.
Yeah,
the name is horrible.
But so the Monstrous mechanic. There's not really. I guess we can't really say what Monstrous does because Monstrous. I guess the only thing that's in common is the +1/+1 counters.
Well, it's +1/+1 counters, and you can only use the ability once.
Yeah. So the creatures that have Monstrous, you can use the Monstrous ability, and they get X number of counters depending on the ability, and then they have some of them have some kind of effect. Some are just get X counters. But I think it's a really nice way to get extra value out of creatures.
Yeah,
because a lot of the heroic things are not like monstrous. The actual creatures themselves aren't overcosted.
Right.
A lot of them are good creatures in their own right.
Yeah,
and so if you
this
can,
is just an extra bonus.
Yeah, like later on, if I have 7 mana for this freaking monstrous thing, okay, now I can use it, and you just get that much more value.
Right, but the only thing I think about it though is like it's a very expensive level up.
It is.
I mean, it's just instead of like level up where you spread the cost over many turns.
Yeah,
you have to spend it all at once, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. Monstrous as a name just doesn't seem right, and the reason that I think that is like I can't remember if it's Jason and the Argonauts or if it's Clash of the Titans, but there's a scene in that movie where there's scorpions on the ground, and one of the guys decides to cast a spell on the scorpions, and they just become huge. Yeah. To me, that's monstrous. That's like wow, that thing just became a monster. when I look at like the spoiler and I go Kraken, how does that get any bigger than a Kraken?
It already like consumes a ship, man.
Right. I mean, what is it doing? I mean, I would probably
like Polukranos, or however you pronounce his name.
Yeah,
it's a Hydra, man.
It's a Hydra. It's already huge. How does it get more huge?
Some of the monstrous things are like, this is already monstrous. So
yeah, like the Colossus. I mean, really,
really. What is it's like 10 for monsters?
Right, like
it's a Colossus.
It's a Colossus. It's already monstrous. How does it get more monstrous?
Yeah, like what makes this thing monstrous?
Right. So I mean,
making it lose defender. That's why it's monstrous.
And gaining trample no less too. But what I think that I would have named it something else, like enraged or something.
Yeah,
like these monsters are big, nasty, anyways, and all of a sudden they become really nasty.
Yeah. I love the mechanic. It's cool.
Yes,
and like it does add a whole new level of strategy, because like when you see someone with like monsters on the other side of the board, now you have to keep that in mind. Yeah. Because now when they get to X land, they can use monstrous, or
one of the things,
like, do I need to hold removal up?
Right. And one of the things I like about monstrous too is that it doesn't say that you have to play it as a sorcery. You can play it at any time. So it really, at least the mechanic itself, has a lot of value to it. Yeah. Because if it was only could play as a sorcery, it's just like, why?
The difference is, like, I know you compared it to Level Up earlier, and I can see the similarities, but the difference in Level Up is most Level Up creatures...
All Level Up creatures were sorcery speed first off.
Yeah, they were sorcery speed, but they're also all junk.
Yeah.
Like, almost every Level Up creature is garbage until you level it up.
Yeah.
A lot of these monstrous creatures are pretty good on their own right. Like, Polukranos is a 5/5 for 4.
Right.
I mean, which isn't great as vanilla.
Right.
But, now you have an extra ability. It gives it that extra value. And then, like, what's another monstrous...
Like, Fleece Mane Lion is amazing.
Yeah, like, it's already a Watch Wolf, so we've just outclassed Watch Wolf now.
Yeah.
Because we've just, you don't play Watch Wolf anymore.
Right.
Because we've got this card that's just better. And like you said, monstrous isn't sorcery speed.
Yeah.
So like if I want to just crash in with my 3/3 and I have the mana up, like I can save it from a removal now.
Right.
Because I can just be like, you want to target it, like give it hexproof now.
Yeah, it's hexproof and indestructible. No less. It's just like, and he's a 4/4 too. It's just to make sure.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. Well, we'll get back to all those cards.
We'll get there. We've already talked about it.
Right.
Like, Fleece Mane, like that's what we have to say about that.
Yeah, well, Fleece Mane Kitty, or as I like to call it, or Fleece Mane Lion, as I like to call it, Monster Kitty.
So the last new mechanic we have is Bestow.
Right.
And this was, as you can clearly see if you've played Magic for a while, Wizards' attempt at making enchantments not suck.
Yeah.
Like, which this whole set was really.
Right.
But Bestow's the, like, pinnacle of this.
Yes.
We want to say, like, which you can still get 2 for 1. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't the ruling, like, if you try to bestow it and they kill it in response, like, you don't get the creature
That's
either.
exactly it, yeah.
But if you do bestow the creature, and which I guess we should actually say the mechanic.
Right.
Bestow is you can enchant the creature, and you get the actual creature's effects added on to the creature you're bestowing.
Plus their power.
And then if that creature dies, your bestow creature becomes its own creature.
Right.
With its own stats. So that means if you lose your enchanted creature,
Yeah.
you don't have an inherent 2 for 1. You don't have something that just says, Doomblade me, Doomblade me.
Right.
Just by having something with an enchantment on
Exactly.
it.
And,
which you still do, probably.
I'm happy with the mechanic as far as bestow. I think that the idea of being able to play a creature as an enchant creature, putting it onto that creature, and guaranteeing myself that creature will still be there, even if the creature that's
like a
enchanted.
better totem armor, more expensive.
Well, it's actually just a better like elephant guide or griffin guide. Which is basically how they came up with the mechanic. My problem with Bestow, and this comes back to the way that they designed the set, is that in order for them to do Bestow, they had to use the power and toughness of the creatures and put that onto their ability.
Did they have to, though?
They had to. Mark Reswater said so in his article. That's the problem. I don't know why they had to.
Huh.
This is an expert level
That
set.
is curious.
People that play Magic regularly should be able to read a card and say, "Oh, enchanted creature gets this."
Between the enchantment effect and the creature.
Exactly. So that limits what they can do.
It does limit the versatility.
And the other problem with it is because it limits their versatility, all the bestow costs are a lot more expensive than the actual
There's
creature.
only a couple cards that have even reasonable bestows, because most bestows like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And like, which, I mean, it is nice that it turns your late game 3-drop or whatever into something a little more useful, because you can enchant something currently instead of just playing out your 3/3 or whatever it would happen to be. So it's just value.
Yeah.
Same thing as monsters. It's just value.
Yeah, exactly.
As Magic players, we love value, man.
Oh, yeah,
you flock towards the value.
Right.
But Bestow is so expensive. Like, I think, and I'm not, like, we'll see how slow the format is. It does seem kind of slow. But I can imagine that there will be some games that are over before you ever even could have bestowed something.
And that's exactly how I feel about it. I mean, maybe in just block itself, Bestow is probably going to be amazing. You know, just in Theros block, I think Bestow could be amazing because it is a slower set.
Yeah.
But once you get into standard, modern, legacy, Bestow's never going to be.
I don't think we'll ever see a Bestow card like. And, you know, I might eat my words if they give us the new Delver of Bestow or something stupid like that. But I don't think we'd ever see Bestow in the non-rotating formats.
Right. And see, that's where my problem is. Like, with Bestow, if they were,
even in Standard.
Yeah. If they were able to do the Bestow effect where the enchant creature does, could do something different. You know, let's say, for example, let's just say, for example, let's make a black creature that's a 2/1 that costs 2 mana, has a Bestow effect of 1 black, 2 colorless, and it gives the enchant creature -2/-1 or something, Or,
that would be kind of cool.
Like, I bestow your creature, he died, now I get a 2/1 for 3 mana.
That is interesting, an interesting idea.
They could have done something like that.
It does suck that they limited themselves to
they
only
really,
using the same.
Yeah, and so now that you've limited yourself, you really actually limit the amount of stuff that you can do with that mechanic. You can't really make you can't make something just
like
huge. Yeah, you can't do something like huge. You can't do a negative. It's an 8/8 for 6 mana. Oh, okay, that's great. What's the bestow cost?
I would like to see a bestow, and maybe they'll do this in the coming sets, but I'd like to see a bestow, because occasionally they do things like this, with flashback. Usually flashback is more than the original.
Yeah.
But occasionally they'll have something that's cheaper.
Right.
I'd like to see a bestow, which I guess one of the reasons they can't do this is because they limit themselves to power and toughness. But I'd like to see a bestow that is a fairly weak enchant, like you bestow for 2, but it's like a 6 cost creature that's a 5/5 or something.
Right.
So if you could bestow it and sack it or lose your dude.
But even if you could do something,
you could sneak out.
But you could do something even stupid, like a bestow cost of 2 that gives the enchanted creature 2/2/2, but the casting cost of the creature itself is 4.
Yeah.
It's a 2/2. So it's just I'd rather bestow than actually cast it, but
at
least
you can get value.
That way I get value. But
I don't think they did any.
They did
that we've seen so far.
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
in the next.
Maybe in the next sets. Once
I don't think there's a bestow that's cheaper than the creature at all.
No,
I think there might have been one that matches the cost. There might be 1 or 2 like that.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't even think about that. I mean, once I looked at bestow, I was like, wow, I'm really excited about that. But then when the art,
it'd be hard to use.
But when I read the article and they said, well, in order for us to do bestow, we had to do it this way because that's the way that they dictated it. It really limited what they could do, and then it really made me upset about the mechanic, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll see. There are all of them are fun mechanics, like Devotion, Scry, Heroic. I'm probably the least thrilled with.
I think for me, I think Heroic. I mean, I'm the least excited about.
Yeah.
But when I'm looking through the spoiler and I'm looking at the cards that do have Heroic, I see that they are really decent creatures for the most part. They're pretty inexpensive, and the Heroic is pretty nice. So I like Heroic if you're playing a deck that really can target them. And when we start talking about individual cards, we're going to really talk about those ones that can.
So let's move on to some of the statistics of the set, and we've talked about the mechanics.
249 cards, that's all you need to know. Just kidding.
We're done. Podcast over.
Call it an episode. We're good.
So the speed of the format, as we've kind of mentioned earlier, I think it's going to be a little bit slower.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I guess I should say a little bit slower, that's relative into
what
we've been used to.
Yeah.
It's going to slow down a bit. We're going to be putting the brakes on. And the format, to me, looks, at first glance, and, time will tell. Experience really dictates everything.
Yeah.
But at first glance, it seems like a really balmy format. We're just dropping big things.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Because there are a ton.
Everything is big, for the most part. I mean, the little stuff is decent, but when you get into the higher mana cost stuff, they're just big bombs.
I don't think this is
wow.
I don't think this is anything like M12 or any of the more recent really fast formats. I don't think you can make a deck of 2-drops and just get there.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get outclassed so fast.
If you're playing Theros just by itself, you want to have your bigger drops, and they better be incredibly good.
I'm not sure how well aggro can do. It
With
kinda remains to be
Theros,
seen.
no, I don't think I could do pretty
Is
well.
is there going to be an aggressive archetype that is reasonably drafted, like, and can get there? Like,
for Theros? No,
I can't see it.
I can't see it.
I can't see it, but that doesn't mean it's not there.
Yeah, it might be there, but that's the other thing about this set. If you really looked at the spoiler, the stuff that's really cheap that does like really cool stuff that
Yeah.
you would want for an aggressive deck is like rare.
Yeah.
You know, and so you're not going to see like like in like Return to Ravnica block where you got like, oh look, Rakdos Cackler, Dryad Militants on turn 1.
Yeah, I don't. The only I mean,
the
like
the
if I'm
ones
thinking
that
of-
have 2 power in this are both rare, so you're not going to see them get drafted.
Yeah,
There's
and
the red
you
guy.
cannot like take all you see. and
Yeah,
hope
exactly.
that out of the deck.
So yeah, it's going to be a very slow format, especially for drafting it. And the main reason that we really want to talk about the draft in Theros is that we both live in Oklahoma City, and October 4th, 5th, and 6th is GPOKC, and this will be the first time that Theros is going to be drafted. So we're going to be setting the bar on how well this set
Well,
will
we'll be drafting it before then.
Yeah, we'll draft it first, but I mean for a Grand Prix, it'll be the first time it's getting drafted.
But I
so-
believe day 1 is sealed.
Yeah. No,
So-
I think, is it sealed or drafted?
I'm
So
pretty sure day 1
I
is
know it's
sealed.
one of the two, but regardless, it's going to be like, we need to know this format as best we can and figure out what is good and what's not.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna see.
Yeah,
It's gonna
definitely.
happen.
Yeah, pre-releases, we're gonna be hitting up a lot of stuff because I mean it's only a couple of weeks
Yeah,
away.
pre-releases are good, and I was considering because at our local shop we have the midnight launch.
Yeah.
Have you heard about that?
Yeah.
Because we normally don't do midnight launches there, but we actually have 3 pre-releases.
Yeah,
at
we
our
got 3
shop.
pre-releases.
And normally I don't even go to 2.
Right.
And some people will, but like I'm thinking I might be like the MTG like all-star that day, and let's just
Do it.
because we get 3 sealed. Like this is
Yeah.
3 shots to jump it sealed and
Yeah,
get
really
a little
good
bit of experience.
And one of the things I'm going to do is I've committed myself to buying a booster box, even though I'm not really a fan of this set. I'm going to definitely do that.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about actually trying to get a couple people together to actually draft that box
okay.
to see how it drafts.
That's a good idea.
To trying to get a better idea of what.
Okay,
what-
I was wondering because when you said buy a box, I'm looking at you like,
Yeah.
buy a box, man. Like,
Yeah.
just pick up what you want. Like,
Right, well, like
get
you
your
do.
monster
I mean,
kitties.
Yeah, I know. Get your monster
I'm a
kitties.
big advocate of not buying packs.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. But you
but-
don't have the luck
yeah,
like I do.
Yeah, you have much better luck opening packs.
Yeah.
This is the guy who just you open one pack and it's good.
Yeah.
We don't even have to get.
I bought,
we don't even have to
I bought
go
a
there.
total of 3 modern master packs, and I opened up a Tarmogoyf.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay,
It's just
good.
stupid stuff like that.
You know?
I opened 2 boxes and like they're all my mythics were dragons. It's like
Right?
come
Come on.
So this is why I don't buy packs.
Right?
But so let's. I think we've pretty much covered what we want to cover about this set. I was gonna talk about like the average converted mana cost. Like we kind of looked at it. It's all around 3
Yeah.
to a little bit higher than 3.
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is like
Pretty average.
Pretty
for most,
average.
Most Magic sets
I mean,
anyway, so it's not really.
We're not
like,
looking at like 2.3 or something
Yeah.
like where we're hitting 2 drops. Like you can. I expect in this format you can probably be okay not having a turn 1 play, not having a turn 2 play. Like most
You're
people
probably
are.
not going to have a turn
So-
1 or 2 play. It's going to play pretty slow.
And the archetypes that we're looking at coming into the set, like, I really like.
that's where my problem is.
Like sometimes you can just see it. Like when I looked at M14 and I was looking at like the commons and stuff, we looked at blue having like 6 or 7 really solid commons. So
Right.
like I'm saying like this goes good because you don't need the rares to support it.
Yep.
You know, you can pick up messenger drakes and blah 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 whatever.
Yeah,
There's
claustrophobias
really
and whatever.
good
You
commons.
got stuff.
But I'm looking at this and like there are solid commons between colors, but it doesn't look like there's any like strict like I can't say the heroic deck is probably going to be the archetype you want to try and get if you
Right.
can. Like I can't. You
I
know,
mean-
this is at first glance.
Yeah, but see, this is where I kind of feel about this set is like they kind of took a bunch of mechanics, they threw them all against a wall and saw what stuck. You know, it's like,
It's-
oh, we like this and this and this and this, and so all of the stuff goes thrown into the set, but none of it meshes that well.
Yeah,
So when you're trying to draft this, or even trying to figure out like what's your combinations in it,
I mean, I
don't know.
I can't say like you want to try and get Bestow with heroic, because Bestow's too freaking expensive to do that.
Right.
Like, I mean, you could say get enchants to trigger heroic, but like that's kind of a given.
Right.
That's like,
and you know that everybody's
this isn't a hidden strategy.
Yeah, and everybody's gonna be picking up enchantment hate anyways.
Yeah,
I mean, that's gonna be a top pick.
Enchantment
no matter
hate
what.
it's like when we played Scars, is probably the most recent format I can think of.
Mm-hmm.
You took artifact hate and you just considered it removal.
Right.
And like this is going to be the same way. If
Exactly.
they don't have revoke in this set, although I do expect it to be in the block. If they don't,
Right.
they're dumb. We need more exile enchants.
Yeah, exactly.
But we do have like the green common.
Yeah.
Return to Antiquity or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Dismiss, something like that. But that's an exile. Like I would take that. Maybe not top pick, depending how weak the pack is. I might. You never know. But
exactly.
I would expect it to be like, if we're going to give it numbers, average like fourth picked.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
It's definitely worth taking. Now, one of the other things about the statistics of the set that I've noticed, and we were talking about this earlier, is that there's a very lack of flyers in the set.
True. Like if we broke down the numbers,
Yeah.
and like there's something like
23 flyers altogether in the
and
entire set.
non-rares and mythics are only like
16.
Yeah.
Right.
So, which is weird. That's rare.
That is very rare. You know, because
And
usually,
maybe
like, why... I can't think of any real sets that had such low amounts of flying in it.
Well, I mean, here's an interesting tidbit. Red has no flyers at all, except outside of the rarity. There's no little dorky dragon hashlings.
No.
There's no red flyer at all.
And green doesn't
And
have
I know,
any either way,
and
either
red,
too.
like,
It's
green
like-
light never has flyers,
But,
but
I mean...
occasionally red has some.
Yeah, it has something.
But I think the only one is like Stormbreath Dragon.
But what I mean by that is also, like, green doesn't have really... I think they have, like, what, 1 or 2 creatures with reach?
Yeah, like even flying is a really
Is like...
overlooked for being the most keyworded ability in Magic.
Yes.
Which flying is.
Yes.
There's a distinct lack here.
Yeah. So, when drafting, if you open up a flyer, that might be the only
Yeah.
flyer you see.
It very well may be, because if we're looking at 16 flyers in the whole block that you're likely to see, you may only see 1 or 2.
Yep.
Like in your whole table.
So, what could
I mean,
become...
like that pass you'll probably only
Right.
see 2 or 3.
So what could actually become almost a viable archetype is
jam flyers.
Jam flyers.
Blue-white flyers, man.
Jam flyers as best you can
Black.
with Bestow,
Yeah.
and just enchant the crud out of them. If they can't deal with blocking, you just win with just one
And
idiot.
even black actually has some solid flyers.
Yes.
The distribution was kind of weird in white, blue, and occasionally we see very few flyers in red, but they're usually just some dragons or something.
Right.
And there might be some other weird red creature that's fine. But and usually black is the other color that has some flyers, but they're usually poorly costed. And
Right.
we don't usually get a lot of black flyers, but I think black has just as many as white and blue.
I know, and that's
at
so
common
weird.
and uncommon.
Exactly.
And that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
But like, if you can just take black or white or blue, and I don't remember the actual common to uncommon distribution, because I think
Yeah.
a lot of the good black flyers were uncommon. But if you can just take 2 of these colors and just grab flyers, like, you can probably make a deck that way.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, any kind of evasion is always good, and flying is like the most common usually.
Yeah.
But in this set, with the lack of flyers, it means that they also have a lack of blockers that can actually block it. So
Yeah.
it's basically just free damage if you can get
Yeah,
it.
I mean-
and most of the flyers, and that's the other thing about it, is like with the set that has a lack of flyers, if you notice all the flyers have got pretty cheap mana costs for them.
Yeah.
It's like 4 mana, 3 mana, 2 mana. It's just like, wait a minute, what's going on here? It's
Yeah.
like, oh, these guys are kind of aggressive.
Yeah,
Little flyers.
We
Like-
don't have the like, what am I trying to think of? Like the obligatory sphinxes and
Yeah.
but uncommon.
Yeah.
Like the obligatory 4/4.
Well, we can just go back
Sphinx
to
or something.
like 2014 core set. And, at uncommon, you had like Cinder Vampire, you had Sarah Angel, you had really Air Servant. I mean, you had really good uncommon big bombs. You don't have it here as far as flyers are concerned. So it's just like
and like the uncommon flyers, at least what I'm thinking of, and we'll go through it here in a second.
Yeah.
But the uncommon flyers that I'm thinking of are mostly good, but they're not Sarah Angel.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not Singer Vampire.
And what's the sad thing is, I think that the best flyer as far as uncommon comes in is the blue-green one. at the end.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he's got like flash and flying and like something else. I think it's like hexproof or trample or something silly.
I think there was, and I think it's a 4-drop, but there's a black flyer that's like a 2/2 flying lifelink.
Yeah, that one's kind of cool.
Like, that'd be pretty good to get in if they don't have flying blockers, which, as we're kind of establishing, if you
They're
don't have flyers to attack with, you don't have flyers to block with.
Exactly.
I mean, reach is the only mechanic that circumvents that.
Yeah, and there's not that many reach cards in there
Yeah,
either.
I think there was like 2 or 3.
Yeah, one of them's the common that's bestow. I mean, how often are people going to really take the 2/2?
I didn't count them, but like flyers is kind of not. There's not a lot. So it's something to keep in mind.
Yeah,
especially going into your first few drafts or pre-release or whatever.
Right.
Pay attention to that.
Yeah, pay attention. Yeah. Make sure you think about like how am I going to deal with that? These
yeah,
flyers.
Like in core set, I usually don't even think about it because I either have like. I think removal, and that's kind of what I do. Like in core set, I don't pay attention because I know if I'm green, like I probably grabbed a plummet or 2.
Right.
Like I probably just did because I put them on the sideboard. Like you're always going to have them.
Or
you can almost even
or something.
Yeah.
You know.
Which is like Green's Doomblade. Like I can block your flyer. Like I can get rid of your flyer. But I think removal is the biggest thing. Like I usually don't ever even consider it in core set because I either have enough flyers or I have enough ways to deal with them. I don't think about it. But coming into Theros. Think about it.
Yeah,
because you're going to need to realize how much flyers you have or how many ways you have to deal with them because the guy that does just snatch up all the flyers is just going to overrun all of you.
Yeah, that's exactly
I'm
it.
assuming.
Unless you can get your big guys up, but like we said, all the flyers are so cheap that he's just going to drop flyers at you and just keep smacking you until you're dead, and then probably bestow one of them or
probably
2.
Outrace you.
And with bestow, I mean, he can just outrace you and outclass you, especially with as many enchant creatures as there are.
There are
2, which we're going to talk about here in a second.
So let's actually go through. We're going to go through the cards. There are 249 cards, but there's a lot of them that will kind of be dismissed.
We're not going to talk about the basic land, so don't worry about that. So that
we're gonna go through the cards in order of their set number.
Okay.
Because that's how they're presented.
Yeah,
and that's the easiest. So let's start off at the top. We got the first card is Chained to the Rocks. It's our. It's like, are you gonna take this in limited like ever?
No. Maybe as a third pick if no 4-factor going into red white.
Yeah, like pack 3 or maybe pack 2. I can see it because this is I was gonna say it's like really good removal, and it is. But it is an enchant, and expect to see limited, like enchant hate and limited, and even in standard. Yeah. Expect to see enchant hate and standard. Maybe not main deck, like we'll see.
Yeah.
Sometimes formats get that way, but expect to absolutely see any deck having enchant hate in the sideboard because I mean you've got to have a way to deal with the gods and the like tremendous amount of enchants. Like Chain to the Rocks is pretty good.
Oh, it's pretty good.
If they don't have any kind of enchant hate, Chain to the Rocks is amazing.
Right. Except for you have to have a mountain.
If you can cast it,
yeah, you have to have a mountain. You have to, and the fact that it's rare. It drives me absolutely insane. It's like it's a rare card.
They've been doing that a lot lately.
It's like here's a cruddy card that's rare, but it's really a bomb if you can get there.
Not a bomb, but like
it could be a
good removal.
Yeah, it's dang good removal.
This isn't Path. This isn't Swords. Yeah, but it's what we get in standard. Yeah.
But see, here's my problem with it. It's Otherworldly Journey that has a harder time to be cast and costs 1 colorless less.
Yeah.
Like, really?
Or you mean Journey to Nowhere? Or?
Yeah, Journey to Nowhere.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's just like it's not that good.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was Enchant Mountain, if it was just Enchant Mountain,
yeah,
it would be amazing.
Yeah, because then you can put it on their own.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
You don't immediately open yourself up to that 2-for-1.
Exactly.
Because, like, not that many people were going to have land destruction, but if they do,
right?
Like, you know, coming out of the sideboard, they might have a card we're going to get to down here. The red card is like destroy Peak Eruption or whatever.
Yeah, Peak Eruption.
Like if they have something like that, that's the same mana cost as Stone Rain.
Exactly.
And like they're just like boom, get my dude back and
take 3 damage on top of it and go down tempo. Yeah, it's just like ridiculous. I 2-for-1 for you.
I found it like so much value. So watch out. Chain to the Rocks is good removal. Very conditional.
Yeah, super
if you can use it though, like you know, I've been brewing, looking at making an American control, which I'd have, I think, about 13 mountains between the Shocklands.
Yeah.
So if you can have enough mountains, like it's good removal.
Yeah. But the one thing I would like to say about Chain to the Rocks before we move on is that I would like to see somebody actually cast Chain to the Rocks on their mountain that is also enchanted with Awaken the Ancient. It would just be a hilarious picture in my mind of some poor guy is chained to this giant rock who's just walking around. But anyways.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but if
it does, take a picture, send it to us. We would love to see it.
That would be awesome. Okay. So the next card is Dauntless Onslaught. It is 1 white, 2 colorless. 2 creatures get +2/+2.
Yep.
If you do have like 2 heroics, it can be a ton of value.
Yeah, it can be a huge advantage.
So expect this to be somewhat high pick.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it is a powerful combat trick.
Mm-hmm.
That it can seriously enable some shenanigans with it.
And when we get down to red and talk about their direct damage, it's also a way to save your creature's butt.
Yeah. even like if you could enable heroic on this guy and save this other guy at the same time. Like,
exactly.
Giving the 2 creatures gives you a nice value. And it is up to 2 creatures. Yep. So if you're left with 1 and you have to use it, you don't have to use it on their creature or something stupid like that. The next card is Elspeth's Sun's Champion, and she costs 4 colors, 2 white. So it is 6 converted mana cost, which traditionally, they say the magic number's 4 for Planeswalkers for them to usually be competitive, but that's not necessarily true, because we saw a lot of Garruk, the 5-drop.
Yeah.
Because he was box, man. When you drop him, draw 6 cards, that's harmonize, double harmonize.
Right, exactly.
I don't care if I keep my Planeswalker. I'm going to draw 6, get a fresh mint of cards. But so she does cost 6. Her +1 though is to put 3 1/1 soldiers on the field. Yeah. So
she makes babies like nobody else.
And another one of the things people say about Planeswalkers is usually what makes them good is do they have the ability to protect themselves?
Yeah, protect.
And
she has 2 abilities that protect herself.
Yeah,
which
basically.
Is amazing.
Now in limited, we're gonna say it's a Planeswalker already. It's going to be good.
Yeah, it's a probably. It's first pick. No
I'm not going to say you first pick a Tibalt. There are bad Planeswalkers, but this card does easily win you the game. So we're not evaluating its abilities with limited in mind. We're already going to say they're damn good for limited.
Right.
There's no question. But the +1, it does give her the ability to protect herself. Like if you are playing some kind of ramp deck and you can Elspeth turn 4 and just crap out 3 1/1s, and they can't kill your Elspeth probably very easily. Because you just put 3
The other thing about it, too, though, is that she protects herself because she starts with 4 loyalty counters anyway, so all of a sudden she's at a 5.
And you're I'm not going to say in every case, but you're probably +1ing her when she comes in.
Oh, yeah.
Probably.
Unless...
Her second ability is -3, which is destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater.
And that's the only other time that you would actually ever do that, is if they have board presence, which is giant... evil, whatever. Yeah. It's like, goodbye all those. She might only go down to 1 loyalty counter, but if they don't have a board...
Yeah, and you don't lose her.
Right.
So if you do wipe their board, and now you can just start crapping out tokens without having to spend any more mana, which is what Planeswalkers are good at. You don't spend any more mana, nor do you have to devote anything else to the board.
Exactly.
It's just on its own.
Value, and more value.
So Elspeth, and her emblem, I don't even need to, I'm going to read it.
Right.
But I'm going to say, I don't even need to read it. It's an ultimate. It wins you the game. Blah, blah, blah. That's usually what an emblem is. Her emblem is creatures you control have +2/+2 in flying, and that's at -7.
Right.
Considering you probably +1 her a few turns, now you have 18 power. That's probably unblockable. Yeah. Okay, so that's what her emblem does.
She's just a bomb.
Which you usually, how much do you care about her emblem? Even when I get to -7, I probably just want to keep putting out 1/1s.
You're going to overwhelm
unless I have enough 1/1s to just win that turn.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. But even at that point, who cares? All of a sudden you got 3/3 flyers.
She's good.
She's really good.
She's pretty good, and it would surprise me if she didn't see any standard play.
Yeah,
I
expect her.
To see some standard play.
But the question, I guess, my question would be: is how does she rank against all the other Elspeths?
All the other Elspeths, we came into Elspeth setting the bar high, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because the first Elspeth was awesome,
right?
Because its 2 relevant abilities are +1s, and then and her emblem, which it wasn't an emblem at the time, but her emblem was everything's indestructible,
right?
So
kill me.
And that was at 4 mana.
Right.
But she did only put out 1 soldier at a time.
Exactly.
So the trade-off is here, like I said, if you can ramp to this, man. If you can turn 4 Elspeth, you're in good shape.
Yeah. But even if you slow play her, even if you have to drop her on turn 6, all of her abilities are going to be relevant no matter what.
Because if they did drop a threat, you can be like, well, I just killed your threat, and I'm left with a Planeswalker. Yeah. So that's essentially a 2-for-1. Even if they have to swing to kill her, you basically killed a threat and gained some life. So
exactly.
Heck yeah, all right. You don't feel bad casting that card.
No, you never.
It's not
you
a bad
never
Planeswalker.
feel bad about casting Elspeth on that.
Yeah, and we'll compare it to the second Elspeth. The second Elspeth, it was -2 or 3.
Yeah.
Her negative gave you 3 1 soldiers.
And now you get a +1 that gives you 3 1. And it's only 1 colorless
one
more
colorless
to cast.
more, And I liked the second Elspeth because she did have the negative that was basically a board wipe. It was destroy all other permanents except tokens and the Elspeth herself.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I did like about this, but this kind of gives you a pseudo board wipe from the get-go. You don't have to plus to get to it.
Yeah, exactly.
So like the power level of this card is good.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm gonna give it marks that say good.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I've seen some planeswalkers that are iffy. This is not iffy.
Yeah,
this is good. Like
this is top pick and limited.
I'm not
this is gonna be something that's probably gonna hit standard, or maybe even it might even push into modern.
I don't know where it would see play modern, because modern is really focused.
Yeah, it's really fast and really focused.
Because
you can
combos really relevant.
True.
I don't expect to see this Elspeth in modern, but she's good enough to see significant in standard play.
True. Definitely.
It's not an iffy card. Like it.
Oh yeah.
I'd be pretty surprised if it did not see.
Well, I mean, the only place that I could see that the Elspeth in modern would be like in like red, white, blue control or something like that.
Maybe as a finisher.
Yeah.
You usually don't want to tap out. Usually you burn people when Snapcaster.
True.
Or mainland.
I mean, as an alternate.
Or you run Gideon.
Yeah.
I've had a hard time seeing her in modern.
Yeah.
But in standard, she's a powerhouse, and limited, she's a powerhouse.
Limited, she's definitely a powerhouse.
So
if
I
you
think
open her, you
take it. Windmill slam it. Let everyone know what you draft.
Right. Exactly.
Like, get out of my way. All right. I think we've said enough about Elspeth. So the next card is Evangel of Heliod.
I kind of like this card.
And it's a 6-drop. It's 4 colors, 4 colors and 2 white. And it's only a 1/3, but whenever it enters the battlefield, you get a number of 1/1 soldiers equal to your devotion to white. Mm-hmm. And by itself, that means you're getting at least 2 1/1s.
Yeah.
In addition to your 1/3. So it does give you 3 bodies at minimum. It's kind of weak by itself, though. But if you have any board, it can be pretty good.
Yeah, it can be pretty nutty if you got any kind of board set.
Even if you just have some craps that just have 1 white in their mana.
Yeah.
Like, if you just have 2 or 3 of those, then suddenly you just go... get 5 1/1s. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it. It's not Tolinia's emissary or whatever.
Trostani's summoner.
Summoner, yeah.
Where you get a 3/3, a 4/4, and a 5.
Yeah, it's just like nuts.
But it also costs a little bit cheaper. But it goes with the whole thing I've said of the whole thing I'm saying about Theros so far is it's a bomby format, man.
Yeah.
Like, you just play this big thing and like you want to do stuff with it. Like, cause
it's almost a format where like you're gonna crack open a pack, you're gonna look at your rare first, and if it's a bomb, you just take it. And you're gonna look at the pack.
Well, if you're bad. Yeah, you want to know what you're passing.
True. I know, but I'm just saying, it's like you're not going to really care what the rest of the pack looks like.
And there's a lot of uncommons like this that are going to go the same route. You're just going to say, like, this. If I cast this card, it puts me in such a good position. Like, reasonably, if you cast this, you should have at least now 5 bodies.
Yeah.
I'm going to say you're at least got 4 1/1s and a 1/3.
Exactly.
So now you have, like, either chump blocks for days, or, like... If you do have your combat tricks, you're white. You have combat tricks. You can slam guys and wherever they don't block. If you use Dauntless, whatever, you just push 5 power.
Yep.
Or 4 power. Yeah, you just push 6 damage.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it can be game changing. Yeah. It's a decent uncommon.
Yeah, it's definitely decent.
Doesn't give flying, but
yeah.
And I don't think there's any kind of blink effect. I guess there's the one rare, which is not really a blink effect, but we'll get to that. And then the next card is Fabled Hero. It's a rare, so we're gonna say it's probably a bomb because the rares in the set, like, there's gonna be some bad rares, but we're looking at Why is our removal rare, Wizards?
And so conditional too.
And it's so conditional. This is what standard is, man. They won't give us path. Okay. So Fabled Hero is 2 white and 1 colorless, and he comes down as a 2/2 double strike. So that's already like that's okay.
Yeah.
But then his heroic says, anytime you cast a spell that targets him, he gets +1/+1. So like, screw casting a spell that targets him. Just enchant him with something.
Right. But not only that, it's not just a +1/+1. It is a +1/+1 counter.
Yeah, it's permanent.
It's permanent. He gets huge quick.
And he is a double striker already.
Yeah.
So like, this guy's a boss.
Yeah, he's gonna.
And the fact that he is a low mana cost means you can come down turn 3, turn 4, you enchant it with something. And you've got the real deal.
Yeah.
Like, how are they going to deal with a 4/4 double striker? I mean, just assuming you had an enchant that gave +1/+1.
Well, like Ordeal.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of a sudden you got a 4/4 double striker.
Because he immediately gets the 1/1 from the heroic, and then, like,
the
whatever spell you actually cast. So, like, if they swing with this guy, combat trick or something's probably coming and you're gonna hurt.
Right.
So like, this guy's the real deal.
He's one of the creatures, and he's one of the only creatures that is so aggressive that you could actually win on turn 4 with just him.
Yeah,
You know? And that's the scary. That is
I
scary.
don't know if you could win on turn. Like, it'd be hard, but
it would be hard.
The game
could
be swung largely in your favor on turn 4.
Oh,
It's probably the better way to put it.
Well, let's see. It's like if you cast the 2 mana, the one that gives them +2/+0 or +2/+2 and scry 1. That would be 5 right there, and then you just cast another one that gives them +2/+2.
Yeah,
that's
if
it.
you have the combat trace.
If you have the combat trace, shoot, that's 10.
And he goes on blocked,
10.
yeah.
Double strike, you're dead.
Yeah, you could do it.
You know,
it can be done.
It's,
So there are not a lot of aggressive avenues in this format, but if you open this guy,
yeah,
try to get a heroic deck, maybe. I mean,
Right.
even if you don't have a heroic deck, he's just good.
Yeah, he's just good. I mean,
Like,
a double
he's
strike.
just good.
Any double. I mean, look at
That's the sign.
Mirror Crusader
Yeah.
saw a lot of
He's
play.
similar,
I mean,
but he doesn't have the protection, which was a big part. But he is
But at
basically the sign of a good card is it's good by itself.
Yeah.
And it is. It's good by itself.
right.
Like he's still a 2/2 double strike, and so, anyways, I think we've said what we need to say about him. Like,
Right.
he's a limited bomb. Take him. He may see constructed play. We'll kind of see how that goes. He's at the power level he could,
Oh yeah.
but I'm not gonna say he's at the power level where he definitely will.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a good card.
I mean, that's the only problem with heroic is that you got to split your creatures. And
Yeah,
your
and how
spells.
many things do we really use in heroic that actually see main deck play already? Like
Yeah,
Celestial
exactly.
Charm, like not a lot of combat tricks are really
Yeah, or
already
Azorius
out there.
Charm and Boris
Yeah.
Charm with that. You know.
Yeah, some of the charms.
I mean, Boris Charm isn't going to give him any more double strike. He's got
Double
quadruple strike.
So, and that's the only mode that targets
Right.
that spell, or targets your creature.
Yeah, exactly.
So the next spell is Gift of Immortality, and this card's a dumb. Like, no, it's a rare. It's a bomb.
Yeah, it's a dumb
It's
bomb.
1 white, 2 colorless, and it says you enchant a creature, so it triggers heroic. And when that creature dies, it gets returned to the battlefield with this enchant attached to it.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the next end step.
Yep.
So not even yours. If you had like some kind of sack outlet,
Right.
and you could like put this on that Evangel of Heliod,
Right.
and just keep like jamming 1/1s every
Right.
turn, it'd be stupid. But there's a lot of dumb stuff that can happen with that. Its indestructibility, somewhat, with can be an upside
Yeah.
if there's some kind of like into the battlefield or even heroic. Like,
Right. I mean, the only way that they can actually get rid of the creature is they have to actually put 2
They have
removal
to
spells.
Yeah, they have to 2 for 1. Well, it's not 2 for 1 themselves. If they can do it the first time,
Yeah, exactly.
then they don't 2 for 1s themselves because they'll spend 2 cards. You lost 2 cards, but yeah, it does take 2 cards to deal with.
Yeah.
Or unless there's some kind of pacify effects, which I don't really
see
think
any.
there
I
are
haven't seen
any.
any. I haven't seen any.
Like if there's some kind of pacify or bounce,
Yeah.
you'll get rid of it. But there's not a lot of ways to deal with it. It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
I
Other
would-
than like enchantment hate, and
Yeah,
we're going to talk
enchantment.
about enchantment hate. Quite a bit
Speaking
in
of
this.
enchantment hate, the next card, which isn't really enchantment hate, but a lot of enchants are white. It's Glare of Heresy, 1 white and 1 colorless. It's a sorcery speed exile target white permanent. And I'm
It's
going to
part
go
of
off.
the hate
Yeah, I'm going to go off on the
cycle.
brief
Love
branch
it.
and say there's a hate cycle in Theros that actually hates on its own color,
Yeah, I love
which
it.
is pretty cool, and I do like it. But there's not much else to say about that card. Expect to see it in some sideboards. Even in limited, same thing.
Yeah.
You might take it and sideboard it, but like I don't know if it's ever made
Yeah.
deckable.
I mean, I
it
like
could
the
be-
fact that it exiles target,
Yeah.
as opposed to just, destroy.
Yeah,
'Cause
that
it can
does get
really-
around like Heliod.
Yeah.
It's funny, one of his own.
Well, it gets around Heliod, but in if we go into even standard, it gets around Voice of Resurgence.
yeah, true,
Exile.
true. It is an answer to voice.
Yeah, you
Which
get no.
there's only one other good answer that I've seen in this format, or coming up in Theros, and we'll get to that. So the next card is Heliod, God of the Sun, the first of the gods. He's 1 white, 3 colorless. All gods are indestructible. They are also enchants,
Yep.
which is relevant, very
Yeah.
relevant. All of them take 5 devotion
Yeah,
to
all-
become creatures.
Exactly.
And so Heliod's a 5/6 if he becomes a creature. His passive, they all have a passive, is other creatures control have vigilance, which
Yeah.
like
That's how I
whoop-dee.
Whoop-de-doo.
Like that's the worst passive of all of them.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna say that right now,
Yeah,
and I don't
it
even
really
remember
is.
what the passive on all of them are off the top of my head.
Scry 1, creature coming into play 2 damage, tagging creatures get trample.
Yeah, they all have trample,
and
and your opponents can't get on.
can't get life.
Yeah, so this is the
Yeah,
worst.
this is
This is
the
the worst
worst
passive, but the active ability is actually decent, and
Yeah.
like. Because like especially in limited, like if you see
yeah.
the guy in limited, like you take it.
Take him, yeah.
His passive or his active ability is pay 2 white and 2 colors to put a 2/1 white cleric enchantment creature tokens. I have a freaking 2/1 creature on the battlefield.
Yeah. For 4 mana, it's not too bad.
And so, like, I could see it. It could see play in standard as like a control finisher. Because I'm gonna leave my mana, like, if I Sphinx's Revelation, like, and now I know I'm going into like win more mode,
right?
But like, say I have Sphinx's Revelation and I've got the Fistful of Answers, you know, like I Heliod, then if I next turn Sphinx, that's only for 2, so that sucks. But say like after that I Sphinx for 3 or something,
right?
You know, I get a little bit farther ahead in cards,
True.
So I can hold up my, you know. Traditionally, this is how control works. I hold up my hand for answers. If you don't have anything worth answering, I make a dude.
Yeah.
So, like, I can possibly see it in standard. He's probably
the weakest out of. I feel like
I'm not going to say he's the weakest.
I don't think he's the weakest. Yeah.
But
I think he's pretty weak in terms because the ability
for his standard playability, and I'm going to go ahead and say all the gods will probably never see play in. And maybe I'm gonna, you know, eat my words, but I don't think they'll probably ever see play in Modern or Legacy.
The only one that has
they'd have to have some kind of combo, like like you could combo around them or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And like they may, and I would expect to see them jammed in Commander decks.
Yeah,
But outside of Standard, probably not gonna see a lot of play other than Commander.
Yeah, and I don't think Kelly. I mean, my personal problem with it is that it's 4 mana to produce a baby. You know?
Yeah,
and that's a big mana sink. That's asking a lot of commitment.
It is, because in order to get that up to being able to do it twice a turn, you'd have to be at 8
land. Exactly.
For you to be able to.
And the vigilance part really doesn't. Give you
the vigilance
anything.
does nothing, and that's what sucks. Is most of the gods are good because they're passive,
right?
And the active is usually icing. And I'm going to say this too right now: most of the gods you're not ever going to expect to make them a creature.
Yeah.
Like you might be able to, especially in limited.
Yeah.
You might be able to, but in standard you're probably not.
Yeah.
Like,
but
if you're trying to, your deck's probably bad. Like it probably is.
I mean, but really, I mean, a 5/6 creature that's indestructible probably isn't going to win you the game either.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
You know,
but
that's
you had to do a lot to get online.
Yeah, and then it's other creatures you control have vigilance. So he doesn't even have vigilance. You have
I noticed that too.
All of them is like other, like really.
Yeah,
but I think that where my problem with Heliod is like he is the god of the sun, right? So when I think of sun, I think of in the sky. So why does the creatures that he produces? Why does he? Yeah, why does he make cleric token? Why not like birds or something? Something that flies.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was 4 mana to produce like even a 1/1 white flying token in this format, it would be amazing. Cause
well,
it's
for
like
limited, I'd still probably rather have the 2 on ground pound.
Yeah,
if I'm
but I mean, still, it's just like I just don't like him compared to like
I like
other
him,
baby.
The thing that I like about him is for standard playability, I'm gonna say, he's not as good as like a Symbol of Legion.
True.
Because he doesn't just go like on inevitability, like just clearly I win in like 4 turns, but he is indestructible.
Yeah, that's
so.
true.
If I want to have like an enchant, like because I'm never going to make him a creature in control. I don't run enough creatures or permanents even to do that.
Right.
Unless I get 4 detention spheres on the field and okay, but we're in Magical Christmas Land at that point. So
if you got all 4 of them in play, you're probably losing anyways.
So you're probably not in good shape. So he's not like a Symbol of Legion in power level, but he's harder to deal with.
True.
So I could see you but
I mean, if
I could see having him on the sideboard maybe.
But I mean, if you are playing control, you have other answers that are probably like 20 times better than that. I mean,
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see how it happens.
So we'll move on to the next card is 100-handed one, and this is
silly.
This is a favorite of the flavor of the people that are gonna like the flavor. He's 4 mana, converted mana cost, 2 white, 2 colorless for a 3/5 with vigilance, which is okay.
Yeah,
that's a decent creature in its own right. Now, if you pay the mana to make him monstrous, which is 3 colorless, 3 white, so 6 to make him monstrous, which is somewhat reasonable. He gets 3 more 1/1 counters, so he becomes a 6/8, and he can now block an additional 99 creatures, and he has reach.
Yep.
So he actually can block, use all 100 hands.
Yeah,
exactly. And the only time that's going to be relevant is if someone's playing Splinter Twin or something weird. That
Splinter Twin just go I got a million creatures, good luck on.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying. Like the only time, it's basically going to be I block everything unless there's something that produces infinite.
Yeah, exactly. But really, what he's good at is just being just an enormous chump blocker.
And he's already a decent attacker in his own right. This is one of the few cases where I say vigilance is good.
Yeah,
and usually vigilance is only good on big things. things because I want to be able to attack and block with it.
Right.
So it's a 3/5 for 4 mana already, coming out of the gate's good, and save the monstrous, and it's a 6/8 that you get to attack with every turn and still have it as a blocker.
Right. And
So
blocks multiple
he's a
things
good dude.
too. Yeah.
You know, he's a rare once again.
Once a rare.
So like you're gonna like this is bomb, like maybe not quite bomb level, but it's very good.
Yeah,
It's very good.
it's very good.
Probably will not see any constructive play. Like I don't think it's that good.
No, he won't see any constructive play. I mean,
It'd be weird if he did.
yeah, blocking 100 creatures, who cares? You know, what relevance is that going to have? I mean, it's not like it's Avatar of Hope, which could block any number of creatures.
Yeah,
but had an irrelevant ability where it's like you're at 5 or less life. I cost 6 colors less. I'm only 2 white. You know, and I fly. You know, that's
what I was thinking too. Like you had Palace Guard back in the day. Like if you needed to side that in for your 3 mana,
right? Exactly.
Against certain strategies, whatever. But so the next card we got Ordeal of Heliod, which brings us to our first Ordeal.
Yeah.
The Ordeals are
amazing.
They're the real deal.
Yeah.
For limited. I don't think anyone will ever see playing Constructed, but these are the.
No, I think that they will.
Really?
And the reason why is because of the second ability. Because it doesn't say. It says when you sacrifice or Ordeal of whatever.
Yeah.
So if you have any kind of ability that just sacrifices it right then and there, you still get the ability. It still triggers.
I don't think that's enough to make it see play though. Like there'd have to be a deck that could, because what deck can sack? I guess because you have to sack the enchant, not the creature.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can cartel aristocrat it. We're not, playing aristocrat.
I mean, there's probably certain things that could probably do it. I could almost see like as weird as it sounds, like in modern, like a Oratog deck almost. Because they're going to eat them anyways, and then you get a bonus off of it. Now, it probably won't be Ordeal of Heliod, because 10 life is not going to be relevant.
So let's talk about what Ordeal of Heliod does. All the Ordeals are one of their color and then one colors, right?
Right.
So they're all 2 converted mana cost, and they're powerful enchants.
Yeah.
This one, and they all do the same thing. The top text is all the same, right?
Yes.
You enchant a creature, and so you do trigger Heroic immediately right there.
Right.
And then whenever the creature attacks, you get a 1/1 counter on it. Then if it has 3 or more counters, you can sack it to get the effect.
Yeah,
Ordeal of Heliod is gain 10 life.
Yeah.
And normally life gain is not that great.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when that's all the card does.
Right.
But this card buffs a dude, and 10 life is nothing to scoff at. Like,
exactly.
That can really change your race.
True.
If someone puts an Ordeal of Heliod on their guy like turn 3, like you have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to gain 10 life if you don't do something about it.
Exactly.
And their dude just gets bigger every time they attack, so it'll be hard to outclass it or easily block it. So yeah, the Ordeals are good. That's a good limited card.
Yeah.
They might see constructed play in some weird.
Yeah, some weird hybrid
could be,
decks. You know, I mean, there are sacrifice effects available that you can sacrifice them to if you needed to. So you just got to be kind of aware of that as well. It's like if you start seeing Ordeals getting played on like some kind of weird deck, expect them to be using them for the sacrifice.
Expect it to be Garcia's the one playing it.
Probably. I usually come up with the weirdest decks anyways.
You're like, who is this guy? All right.
Why am I dead?
The next, why am I losing to enchants? The next card is Phalanx. Is that what it's supposed to?
Phalanx, yeah, Phalanx.
Phalanx leader, 2 white, just white, for a 1/1 with heroic that just gets a 1/1 counter.
No. Read it again. It's a +1/+1 counter to each creature.
Oh, on each creature. Okay.
Yeah, because it's kind of like irrelevant.
Yeah, that is a lot more relevant. Because whenever I first read it, and I guess I never even noticed the actual ability.
Right.
When I first read it, it doesn't seem that impressive. But a 1/1 counter on each creature control is pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah.
Yeah. So,
and the other thing I like about it is that it is one of the few creatures that is just like 2 white.
Yeah.
So I mean, it helps devotion as well.
Yeah, it does. Solid uncommon.
Oh yeah, definitely solid uncommon.
Next card is Soldier of the Pantheon. Is 1 white for a 2/1, which is fine. That's a good card. Like I'm not gonna say it's a good card, but that's okay card.
Right.
It has protection from multicolored. Now it's better. And whenever an opponent casts a multicolor spell, you gain 1 life. So basically, like, you're not multicolor hating with this card. He's just a 2/1 for aggressive white decks that can run white. In limited, I'm not really sure how good he'd be. Like,
I don't think
I don't want to first pick that guy. But in constructed, this guy's going to see some play.
Oh yeah,
like, he's going to see some play
definitely.
Because he has protection from a lot of relevant removal spells, and you'll just incidentally gain a few life. Like, you're not trying to, but
he also got protection from a lot of
creatures
that are relevant now.
Yeah.
Dryad Militant,
so like
Rakdos Cackler, heck, even Boros Reckoner. Yeah, come on, swing at me. You know?
Yeah, I'll block your Boros Reckoner, and he does no damage, so nothing gets reflected. Right? Like, I can effectively negate Boros Reckoner with this guy. But like in the aggro matchups, if there is a green-red aggro or whatever, if they turn one Rakdos Cackler, because they're losing Stromkirk,
right?
So the other run drop is going to be like Experiment 1, or like there's no other red one.
Yeah,
drop.
Exactly.
Well, there's one down here later in the list, but he sucks.
Yeah, he's something.
He's okay. But yeah, this guy blanks a lot of aggro races. You're just like,
block.
Yeah, like you can't get through this guy now. Like,
right.
So
and plus, I gain free life for every time you want to cast a multi.
So this guy's the real deal. Like,
yeah.
If I mean, I'm not going to get into like financial aspects, but like right now, I think he's pretty cheap. I'd pick him up before he goes up, because if he does see a lot of play, like he's going to be, another $10 card or some crap.
Plus the fact that he's white, he's aggressive, and white green's aggressive right now. White red's aggressive right now. So
and white weenie is a traditional archetype.
And
like,
white weenie, so you can see he can see a lot of play in a lot of different deck archetypes. Even if he's not just mainboarded, which I don't know why you wouldn't mainboard him in aggressive, because he's a 2/1 for 1 white.
That incidentally gains lives.
Then
it's hard to remove, and
exactly.
He's fine.
I mean, even in the sideboard,
he can even be somewhat unblockable. Like he's just awesome.
Yeah,
great card all around.
Yeah.
The next card is Spear of Heliod, the first of the gods' weapons, and it's 2 white, 1. It's a glorious anthem.
Yeah, it's a glorious anthem.
It's 2 white, 1 colorless, and creatures you control get 1/1. And I should mention that all the gods' weapons, I'll mention it right here, are enchantments and artifacts. Yeah, they're also legendary.
Right.
So they do have a lot of that drawback that comes from being those types.
Right.
But most of them are pretty relevant. And in limited, every single one from the bomb. I'm going to say it right now.
Yeah.
All the weapons are fantastic. But this weapon is already a glorious anthem for the same mana cost as a glorious anthem, but it has an ability 2 white and 1 colorless and tap it to destroy a creature that dealt damage to you this turn.
Yeah.
So holy crap, can that just swing a race? Like,
oh, absolutely.
You can't race me because your guy gets to hit me once.
Right.
My guys are all pumped, you know, and every weapon just changes combat so much.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy. First pickable in limited.
Easily.
Could maybe see constructed play, if nothing else, as a glorious anthem with an upside.
Yeah, exactly.
I
could see that in like a white weenie deck.
Yeah, maybe. It could.
Because there is no glorious anthem currently in standard.
There is no anthem. There's no Honor of the Pure or any.
Yeah, so that could be our.
Those are all gone.
Yeah, so that could be it, and then you get an upside. Okay, you hit me, good. I destroy your creature. Bye bye.
Yeah.
I'm gonna win the race. Okay, so on to blue.
Moving on to blue, the first card is Bident of Thassa, the next weapon of the god.
Yep.
2 blue, 2 colorless. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card.
Coastal Piracy.
It's a Coastal Piracy, and that seems fine.
Right.
It's a powerful effect. But you have the ability to pay 1 blue and 1 colorless and tap it to force all your creatures or opponent's creatures to attack.
Yep.
So you can force them to tap out.
Yep.
And then on the rebound I drop 4 or something. That's dumb.
I know. It's
and you can force them to make bad attacks too, because
yep, they have to do it.
It's just
the card is just absolutely crazy.
It's like every weapon. They're dumb and limited. Possibly could see playing constructed, but I doubt it.
Yeah,
not this effect.
I mean, you don't in constructed right now. Do you see people playing Coastal Piracy?
Yeah,
exactly.
It's not in standard.
Yeah,
standard parallel is vastly different, but
even in standard, would you really see anybody playing Coastal Piracy in any of the decks right now?
It'd be like I could see. Maybe a blue tempo deck. Like if you could drop dudes.
Yeah.
And then slam this, or refill your hand, it wouldn't be too bad.
True.
But I don't know. Yeah, you're probably never going to see it constructed.
Yeah.
So the next card is Curse of the Swine. 2 blue X.
Yeah.
And now I've heard a lot of people speculate on this being one of the best cards in the set.
Right.
I don't know if I feel that good about it, but it is exile X target creatures, where X is whatever you paid. And for each creature exiled this way, its controller puts a 2/2 green boar token. So I've also heard it called Mass Baconization.
Yeah.
Mass Baconization. And something like Pigify. Something.
Yeah. Pigify.
So I think it's a decent effect. It gives blue away to deal with things they normally couldn't.
Voice of Resurgence.
Yeah. Although they still get their elemental practically.
Yeah.
Not quite as good as that.
Not as quite as good, but at least it gets rid of it. But I think it's a decent removal spell.
It's there. It's blue. It's an ability blue doesn't often have. It's
exactly.
The transmog ability that blue occasionally gets.
Yeah.
Get rid of a creature like Pongify or rapid hybridization. The next card is Dissolve. It's just cancel with Scry 1.
Yeah.
2 blue, 1 colorless, counter target spell, Scry 1. I like it. It will be replacing Dissipate.
Yeah.
Mostly. Because I'm still probably going to run Syncopate as the main
card. Yeah, definitely.
But I don't feel bad running a couple of these. It depends.
Yeah.
Like, you might want counter flux there if you have the blue and red.
Yeah.
But it's a decent card. It is uncommon, so, I'd grab it unlimited.
Yeah.
Just because it's canceled.
Right.
But you're not going to see a lot of them.
True.
But yeah, it will see constructed play in blue decks probably.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
As it is strictly.
I mean, it's strictly a cancel with upside.
Yeah,
Like, so I mean, if you're going to play cancel anyways, you're never might as well play dissolve instead.
This is one of the few cases where you can safely say it's strictly better because, like, is there anything in the game that would somehow negatively impact you for scrying one?
Right.
Like,
there is nothing. I
can't think of
there
anything.
There is nothing.
So, there's no reason you wouldn't scry one.
Exactly.
So it is strictly better.
Right. I mean, unless they produce something in the next set that, punishes you for scrying.
I mean, there could be, but as far as I can tell, it's basically strictly better.
Yeah, exactly.
The next card is part of the hate cycle, 1 blue, 1 colorless, Gainsay.
Yep.
Counter target blue spell.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't complain about it.
Yeah, maybe I would sideboard it, but the thing is, negate, doesn't that already hit everything you'd probably want to be countering?
Not necessarily, because Gainsay, if we're going to go to standard, Gainsay also hits things like Aetherwing, Jace. I mean, it can hit a lot of interesting blue stuff. So
true, because Aetherling you don't really have much removal to.
Right.
Aetherling's a pain in the butt to deal with. So yeah, I guess I can see it.
Yeah, Master of Waves, or whatever. Yeah. I mean, whatever creature they might be able to drop in blue, as the control.
It does give you that option to hit creatures.
Yeah.
Where negate wouldn't, but negate lets you hit other colors. So we'll see. It'll probably be sideboard.
It's gonna matter.
Master of Waves is the next card. Three colorless and 1 blue for a 2/1 protection from red. But whenever he enters the battlefield, he puts a number of 1/0 blue elemental creature tokens onto the battlefield equal to your devotion to blue, and he says elemental creatures get +1/+1. So effectively, he puts 2/1 elementals onto the board equal to your devotion to blue.
Yeah.
If he dies, all the waves just go back.
Yep.
Because they have 0 toughness without him. Unless you have more than one, he's not legendary.
Right.
Or there's outside of standard, there's other stuff that affects elementals. But he could see standard play. Definitely in limited, he's pretty solid because he's going to put 4 bodies on.
Right.
I
mean, if push comes to shove, if you didn't have anything else in the play, I mean, he's going to
at least puts 2 bodies.
Yeah, it's 2/2/1s, and one of them's got protection
for
red.
4 mana. So
can't really complain about that.
But he may see play in standard.
Right.
Because he is very capable of putting 8 power on the board for 4 mana.
Oh yeah, easily.
Okay, so the next card is Ordeal of Thassa, the blue Ordeal.
Yes.
You should know how much this costs. You should know it gives the 1/1 counters. When this one gets sacked, you draw 2 cards. So in the meantime, it pumps the guy up.
Yep.
+3/+3 permanently, and then draw 2. So that's pretty good.
That's pretty nice.
Next card is Prognostic Sphinx, 3 colorless, 2 blue for a 3/5 flyer. And he has the ability to discard a card to give him hexproof, but it also taps him. Discard a card, he gains hexproof, tap it. Whenever he attacks, scry 3. So that's pretty freaking good.
Yeah.
5 converted mana cost for a 3/5 flyer. It's a rare.
Right.
But if you can get this card, it's a fine card. You attack and scry 3.
Yep.
I think that's the biggest scry number we have in this set.
It is.
So.
And I mean, the second ability, the discarded card, is definitely relevant.
Yeah,
go ahead and
protect him with a card.
Yeah,
just keep sandbag your lands or whatever, because if he's not bomb level, he's very freaking close.
Yeah,
I'd say he's bomb level.
I don't know if he's bomb level yet, mainly because there's so many bigger creatures out there that maybe not fly, but there's just a lot.
Well, I mean, there's the 1/5 flyer coming in, 3/4 flyer coming that can block him.
Yeah, exactly.
But you still get to scry 3 for attacking.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think he's pretty freaking good.
Yeah, he's pretty.
I would not feel bad first picking that.
Yeah,
if there's nothing else.
If there was nothing else, yeah, definitely.
Next card is Sealock Monster. 3 colorless, 2 blue for a just vanilla, or not a vanilla, but for a 5/5, and he can't attack unless you control an island. So he's basically a defender. 5/5, but he has monstrous for 7 mana.
Right.
But he gets 3/1/1 counters, and target land becomes an island in addition to its other types.
Yep. So you can 8/8.
So you give them an island, and you now have an 8/8.
Right.
So, but even so, he's a 5/5 for 5 that can at least block until you get to the 7 land.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
He kind of becomes a bomb by that point.
Yeah.
So it's a decent uncommon.
Yeah, it's definitely decent.
Not much else to it, really.
Right. I mean, I'm pretty sure Sea Serpents, have been around since, Alpha, so there's your Sea Serpent.
Shipbreaker Kraken, 6 converted mana cost, 4 colors, 2 blue. He is a 6/6 with Monstrous at 8 converted mana cost, 2 blue, 6 colors. He gets 4 1 counter, so he becomes a 10/10, and you get to tap up to 4 target creatures, and they don't untap. You freeze them.
Right.
For 1 untap step. So he becomes a 10/10 when he comes with Monstrous, and he's already 6 for 6/6.
So well, not for 1 untap step, for all untap steps. For as long
oh,
as
holy crap!
Yeah, you didn't realize that?
No, I thought it was just free. Oh,
no. They get locked. He
so
locks
he's solidly a bomb. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
because he locks them down.
Yeah, he's also the blue.
So he reminds me of what was that card in Zendikar? I think it was Lorthos.
Yeah.
Because when he'd attack,
tap 8 and tap a creature down.
So he's basically he reminds me of that because you just lock the whole damn board down and have a giant fatty. Is what you do.
So you lock down their biggest creatures, and then you're swinging with the 10/10. What are they going to do? They're going to die.
Yeah, he's definitely a bomb.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd ever see constructed play, but
no, he won't see constructed play, but definitely if you open him in limited, you'd be pretty hard pressed not to take him unless you're just not playing blue.
Unless you're hard not blue. Next card is Swan Song. This card has gotten some hype because it counters an enchant, instant, or sorcery for 1 blue.
Yeah.
But it gives them a 2/2 flyer.
True.
I think it's a fine sideboard card in blue because once again it's another answer to gods.
True.
And it hits the enchant, which you care about, and you don't care too much about the artifact, but it can also, counter an instant or a sorcery.
Yeah.
So I think it has enough relevant abilities it could see play.
I think that it's better in...
you don't feel bad when you're going to cast a Supreme Verdict anyways.
True. But where it's probably going to be more powerful is probably in something as weird as it's going to sound, is it might actually see play in Legacy.
Yeah.
Because that instant and sorcery countering
countering
one blue
is...
that 2/2 is not going to be relevant because in Legacy, usually most decks aren't going to... that you're going to sideboard that into... aren't going to be playing that many creatures anyway, so you don't really care about it. It's like, okay, you're going to swing for me at 2.
Yeah, you have a 10-turn clock. I think I can beat you in 10 turns,
right.
hopefully.
In Legacy, definitely. If I'm not beating you by turn 4, something's wrong.
Well, yeah. I mean, some matches do get grindy, but...
Yeah.
Okay, so the next card is Thassa herself, and she's the cheapest of the gods. 2 blue, 1 colorless. Her passive is at the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1, so that's solid.
Solid, yeah.
She becomes a 5/5 if you get the devotion. 1 blue, 1 colors to make a creature you control unblockable.
Yeah.
So, she could see play. I'm not really sure how I feel about it. In limited, I think it's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Scrying 1 every turn and making something unblockable is pretty good.
Yeah, especially on unblockable ability. Shoot, get something big enough out there and just smash it.
It's constructed playability is what comes into question. And she's been pre-ordering for a lot. People have really been specking on her. I guess because her conveyor man cost is so cheap.
That's the thing about it. She is probably my...
But she could see play in constructed.
I think she's my favorite god, and I think that she will see some play in constructed.
Yeah.
Because
it remains to be seen what kind of play. Because people have been talking about making a blue tempo deck or just a legit control shell.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't feel bad scrying 1 every turn in control.
Yes, but you can still see her getting up to that, getting up to Devotion 5, and then once you do, you got a 5/5 unblockable.
Yeah.
That's still scrying you for 1 every turn.
You can actually target yourself.
Yeah, she can target herself.
Which is weird, because most of the gods, don't affect themselves.
Right.
In
she
whatever
does.
way.
She's like, I don't mind.
Okay, so moving on to black, they actually have the least amount of cards of all the colors at 36 rather than 37. The first card is Abhorrent Overlord. 5 colorless and 2 black for a 6/6. He's a bomb, alright?
Yeah, he's just balmy.
When he enters the battlefield, you get 1/1s equal to your devotion to black.
Yeah, the black harpies with flying.
And he does have, at the beginning of your upkeep, sack a creature, though.
Wow.
So, but
you're going to get 2, you're going to get at least 2 black harpies because of his casting cost.
So you've got at least 2 free turns of being able to attack with this 6/6 flyer.
Right.
At 7 mana, it's expensive, but as we expect, format's slow, it's castable, he's fine. Next card is Agent of Fates, which is also a rare.
This card
2 black, 1 colorless for a 3/2 Death Touch. That's fine in its own right.
Oh, yeah.
Not as a rare, but that's fine in its own right.
Yeah, but then you get this
and then
heroic
it has
ability.
Heroic. When you cast a spell that targets him, each opponent sacks a creature. So that's pretty good.
Oh, yeah. That's
that
definitely
turns anything you cast into removal. Your dumb cantrip enchant is removal now.
Right.
So he's good.
He's a top pick, definitely.
He's good. Next card is Dark Betrayal, part of the Hate Cycle. Black, 1 black, instant speed, destroy target black creature. I'll sideboard it.
Yeah, I would sideboard that definitely.
I'll sideboard it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because there's plenty of black things that you need to kill.
Sideboard
for 1 black, and it gets rid of it is
sideboard
perfect.
sideboard card. There you go. Erebos is the next card. The God, Black God. He's 3 colors and 1 black. He is a 5/7 when you get him online. Your opponents can't gain life as his passive.
Right.
Which, could be real. You could sideboard it in against
sideboard, I
something.
think that's where it is.
He has the ability for 1 colorless and 1 black to pay 2 life and draw a card.
Greed.
It's not quite greed, it's worse.
It's worse than greed.
But, yeah, it is a greed effect. If you can offset the life loss, you can definitely pile people under in card advantage.
Exactly.
So,
but I mean, I just don't feel like he's that great. To be
he's
honest.
all right.
He's all right. He's got some decent. I mean, his passive is probably what people are going to be playing him for, which is sad, because it's like, you can't gain life, and then the slim chance that you might get the 5/7 indestructibles.
Yeah.
But you're
and
rarely
being
going
able to draw a card is okay, but paying 2 life and 2 mana,
it's
kind of hefty.
Hefty. You're not going to be able to draw a card immediately when you play him. Usually.
Yeah.
Next
card is Grey Merchant of Asphodel. This card's pretty solid at a common. It's one of the few powerful commons that I would say. It's 5 converted mana cost for a 2/4 body, but when he enters the battlefield, you get a drain effect equal to your Devotion to Black.
Yeah.
So by himself, he's at least draining 2, and you're draining 2, so that's a 4-point life swing.
Yeah.
So if you have any board at all, once again, pretty powerful effect. You can drain for 5 or something. That's not bad.
Right.
Draining for 5 is pretty good.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
It's a definitely solid card. Yeah, solid for a common, especially.
if you played this guy turn 5 and you played another one turn 6, man, that's with them 2 alone, you're getting at least 4 on the next one.
Exactly.
So, you could really knock someone out.
And it's greater even in multiplayer because it's each opponent loses X life.
Yeah.
You gain that much.
It's just whoa. Yeah, make that distinction when you're playing the 2-headed giant or something.
Right.
Next card is Hero's Downfall, which is murder, but it also hits a planeswalker, and they bumped it up to rare.
Yeah, and it's
great removal.
It's Dreadbore that's 2 black, 1 colorless, and it's an instant.
Yeah, it's instant. So, but it's basically murder, and murder did see some.
Yeah,
so being able to hit planeswalkers.
True, but here's my problem with it. They had the opportunity because I read a little bit about how they decided to do this card, and they realized that they needed some way to get rid of planeswalkers. And so they had an opportunity to come up with a very interesting way to do it, and instead they came up with basically taking Dreadbore, which was the last block, and just moved it over, made it an instant, and made it
it's only
black.
Yeah,
I think that they could have done something better. If I was going to do this, because there's so many things that require +1/+1 counters, I would have just said remove all counters from target creature or planeswalker.
Yeah.
It would have killed the planeswalker, or just shrunk a creature down and dealt with it. And that would have been at least a pretty interesting card.
But in the design that it's currently in,
it's definitely solid, and it's definitely playable. It's rare, but
Doomblade with 1 more black that can hit planeswalkers.
Yeah, exactly.
The next card is Hythonia, one of the mythics. 4 colors and 2 black is a 4/6 Death Touch Gorgon. And whenever she becomes monstrous, which you pay 8 total, 6 colorless and 2 black, she gets 3 more 1/1 counters, and you destroy all non-Gorgon creatures. So you're left with a 7/9, and
she's the Medusa.
Presumably, no one else has a board except you and your 1 7/9 Gorgon. So
definitely a
solid
bomb.
Limited,
solid limited card. And
who's going to play that instructed? Maybe Commander or some weird crap.
Yeah, Commander will probably see play because it is a legendary. But it's I just wipe the board.
And you get to these. Okay. The next card is Insatiable Harpy, 2 colors and 2 black for a 2/2 flyer lifelink.
It's uncommon. It's
fine.
solid. It's playable.
Next card is Mogus's Marauder. 2 colors and 1 black for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, up to X target creatures gain Intimidate and Haste, where X is your devotion. So, I'm not going to necessarily say this is first pick worthy, but it almost is, because it's a pseudo overrun. If you can give everything, if you just have a couple black,
right,
you can give 3 or 4 things, Intimidate, and you just target itself to give it.
Exactly.
To give it Haste and Intimidate.
Right.
So it's a pretty powerful effect for 3. You probably don't want to be casting it for 3, because then it's just a 2/2.
Right.
Nothing. On turn 3. So you wouldn't be casting it later. The next card is Night Howler, 2 black, 1 colorless. And it's a
0/0.
It's a 0/0. It gets +X, where X is the number of creature cards in all graveyards. But it also has Bestow at 4 mana.
Yeah.
2 black, 2 colorless. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely good.
That's not a bad card.
Right. I mean, you'd have to have a deck almost
It is
specifically
rare,
built for it.
But in limited, there's
But-
probably going to be some dudes in the graveyard.
Oh,
so-
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like, it's a rare, take it, it's not bad. Next card is Ordeal of Erebos. It's the Black Ordeal. When you sack it, target player discards 2 cards. I mean, I don't feel as strongly as that about the other ones, but it is a minor out for free that brings a dude. So,
True.
like, I'd probably rather draw 2.
Right.
But still.
Right. I mean, it's okay. I mean, it might... The only problem is you don't want to draw it late, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, the +3
Like,
counters
because
are
the
going to be
drawing
helpful,
2 is always relevant.
Always relevant.
The gaining 10 is probably always relevant.
You know, the red one's
The
going to be
discarding
irrelevant.
2 is not always relevant.
Exactly.
But, yeah. Next card is Read the Bones, and I do like this card.
I do too, yeah.
2 colorless and 1 black sorcery. Scry 2, then draw 2, then lose 2 life.
Right.
Right,
It's like Night Whispers, except for a little bit cooler.
It's I just look at it as it's replacing Sign in Blood, right? Because we don't have Sign in Blood.
No, we don't have Sign in Blood.
rotation.
Yeah,
now.
no.
So it's the Sign in Blood for 1 colorless,
More.
not more, because the mana cost gets moved around. But for 1 converted mana cost,
Yeah.
you get to scry 2, draw 2, and lose 2 life. But
Right,
scry 2
right.
is pretty powerful.
Yeah, the Scry 2 is
Draw
going to
2.
definitely help you. I mean, if you
So-
played anything like, preordained,
Yeah, it's
you
freaking
know, we
awesome.
know that, scrying 2 before you
Before
draw a
you
card
draw is pretty sweet.
is very helpful.
Yeah. Next card is Rescue from the Underworld. I like this card.
card.
It's 4 colorless and 1 black, instant speed. You sack a creature when you cast it, but you get to return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield and the creature you sacked.
Yep.
So there's a lot of shenanigans you can do, like
yeah.
sacking something with an enter the battlefield ability.
Oh, yeah.
Like, or just anything. Like,
Or
there's some...
anything, yeah.
Like, my favorite, and maybe I'm living in magical Christmas land with this one, but it was sacking, like, Voice of Resurgence for your cost.
Right.
So you get your elemental, return your voice, and reanimate something.
Right.
Like, Chunk
even-
Reanimator still lives.
Yeah.
Reanimate an Angel of Serenity. But
You could really do
this
it
is
in that.
you could, but this is the only Reanimator effect, and you can't like cast it when you've milled it like you
Right.
could on Burial Rites. So Reanimator does not exist as an
True,
archetype.
true. Junk Rights doesn't
it-
do
it won't.
as much.
It probably
as sad
won't.
as it is.
But
I mean,
awesome
we
card.
could, you could
Freaking
see,
awesome.
you could see probably Rescue from the Underworld being played at least, especially unlimited. I mean, like,
Oh yeah.
imagine that with the white creature back up there, where it's like,
Yeah.
oh look, more dudes, you know, master.
Oh yeah.
yeah, just like
you sack
what?
that guy because you don't even. Yeah, he's a 1/2.
Right.
His goal was to make 1 once. You don't care if you
Yeah.
sack him. Like get rid of him.
Right.
Okay.
Here comes some more dudes.
Okay, so the next card is Thoughtseize. I don't know
Really?
I don't know what we need to say about Thoughtseize. If you play Magic, you probably know what Thoughtseize is.
Yeah, if
1
you're-
black, sorcery speed. They reveal their hand. You choose an all-in card, and they discard it, and you lose 2 life. It's one of the best hand disruptions ever.
yeah, it definitely
Up along
is.
the lines with like Hymn to Turok and other like super powerful discards.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
you can pay 1 black, see their hand, and discard anything except a land.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, because it can hit anything. There's
Yeah,
no
it
card that
definitely
does
is. I mean, before Thoughtseize, it was Duress is like the best,
Yeah.
and then Thoughtseize just came over and said, "Nah, Duress, you suck."
Yeah.
Let me show you how it's done. And so, yeah, Thoughtseize is an
And
amazing
it is
card.
a high profile reprint because everyone was clamoring for him. They were like
Yeah, and
$65 or something.
What my biggest problem though with Thoughtseize in the set, and because of the way that the set feels and how weak it kind of feels, it almost feels like they held Thoughtseize in order to put it in there in
Yeah.
order for them to sell packs.
I mean, it was one of those things like when everyone saw it wasn't in Modern Masters, they're like, well, we'll be in Core Set. It wasn't in Core Set. They're like, well, it's going to be in Theros. They planned on putting it somewhere.
Right,
Because
right.
they didn't give it to us as a reprint.
Exactly.
Next card is Whip of Erebos. It's the black weapon.
Yeah.
All creatures you control have lifelink, and basically pay 4 to unearth.
Yeah.
A creature card in your graveyard.
Yeah, for like that turn.
It has the same text.
Return target creature card from your graveyard on the battlefield. It gains haste. Exile at the beginning of the next end step. If it would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. Activate this ability only anytime you can
And
cast
so
it.
it's 2 black, 2 colors, and tap it to
Do it.
reanimate a dude for 1
Yeah.
time. But everything you have has lifelink. Once again, this weapon just... No one can race you now.
Right.
Like, it's ridiculous. Every weapon is just retarded for limited.
Oh, so you killed my creature? I don't care. It's
Yeah.
going to come back, and I'm still going to gain life because of it. I'm going
and
to
this
gain
could,
some kind of value.
could even see constructed play because the power
Yeah.
level is pretty high.
Yeah, the
I mean,
power level's
we'll
definitely
see.
high.
Once again, it's all metagame dependent. It's not strong enough to say it will
Yeah.
see constructed play, but it could.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it is pretty powerful. Moving on to red. Our first red card we have is our answer to voice and answer to many players' prayers because we've been needing a pyroclasm type effect.
Yeah.
It's Anger of the Gods, so it's basically slags.
Right.
2 red, 1 colorless, 3 damage to each creature. If it would die, exile it. Lets you answer voice, lets you answer aggressive decks. That's what it does. In limited, you might play it. I mean, you probably would if you saw it. Like, not first pick it, but...
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't first pick it.
But it does do things, and you know you have it, they don't, when
Right.
you first cast it, so you can make your combat.
Yeah, but definitely constructed, it's going to be
Oh,
one
yeah.
of the
You're going to see it in
big
constructed.
cards.
The next card is Fire Drinker Satyr, and he's a Jackal Pup.
Yeah, it's a Jackal
It's
Pup.
just Jackal Pup. 1 red for a 2/1. Any amount of damage he takes, you take.
Right.
But he also has Fire Breathing for 1 red, 1 colorless.
Yeah.
And you take that
One.
much damage every time you activate it. You take 1 every time. So, like, it'd be hard for him to see playing standard.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a long time since Jackal Pup has been good enough to see play.
Right. I mean,
Because you can really just get destroyed by that effect.
yeah, and you're coming off onto a set where there's a lot of burn and a lot of ways to deal with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's just like
So-
you're just killing yourself at that point.
We'll see, but I am not expecting.
But look at,
to see
I mean, if I'm looking completely at standard right now, Red's 1-drops, there are just so
this
much...
is the only other 1-drop though with 2 power, right?
Well, you got what, Rakdos
Because you have
Cackler.
Cackler and
That's-
for red.
That's true.
I mean, for green we have Experiment 1 and Crap, and
Yeah.
for white we got Soldier. For black we got that 1
yeah,
2
the 2-1
1
that comes into play
Yeah.
tapped. But I mean, is it really worth taking
is
that
it
risk
worth it?
of burning yourself out for
Yeah, 'cause you will.
2 power?
Like,
On turn
because I mean,
one.
yeah, he seems okay on the surface, but when you realize you can just get destroyed,
Yeah.
it makes it tough.
Lightning
like,
bolt him, he's gone, and you take 3. Ooh.
Yeah.
Like, really? Or not lightning bolt, lightning strike, I'm sorry.
Next card is Hammer Perforos, the Red God's weapon. It's 2 red and 1 colorless. All creatures you control have haste,
Right.
which is a fine effect, but and it exists at the same converted mana cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
Furor or fervor?
Fervor, yeah, fervor.
Trying to come up with that word.
Yeah.
But it has 1 red, 2 colors, and tap it. You sack a land and get a 3/3.
Yep.
And of course, it has haste as long as your hammer doesn't get destroyed.
Right.
So like, that just like you can just start turning your lands into bloop bloop 3/3 hasters. Like,
Exactly.
That's craziness.
I know.
That's really good.
It can be really
And even just
overwhelming.
everything you play after that has haste is pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Once
the other-
again, the weapon is probably first pick. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just
It's going to be
tears
kind
up
of
limited.
it's really good. I think that the thing about that you want for Hammer though is that since you have to sacrifice the land in order to get the creature, you probably want to wait to
Yeah.
use that ability later.
You're probably just gonna
after
have
you
the
get your
haste
void.
ability.
Yeah, you want that haste ability
Yeah.
though. Once you start dropping creatures
Yeah.
that are big and just immediately swing, yeah.
The next card is Magma Jet. It's a reprint.
Right.
Good card.
Good card.
It's shock that costs 1 more colorless with Scry 2.
Yeah. And I'm gonna talk about it here in a little bit about another one of those cards that they did,
Yeah.
just kind of like throw another one that's basically the same.
Half of Magma Jet. Next
Yeah.
card is Ordeal of Perforos. The
I
red
love this
Ordeal
one.
it's an ordeal like all the rest, same cost, same effect. When you sack it, you get a bolt though.
Yeah,
to a creature
you
or
gotta
player.
do 3 damage to a creature or player.
So,
Hell yeah,
That's
sign
pretty.
me up.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Next card is Peak Eruption. It's the red card in the hate cycle. It's destroy target mountain. Peak Eruptions deals 3 damage to that land's control. 1 red, 2 colors. So
Yeah,
Stone
Stone
Rain
Rain.
for just a mountain, they
Yeah.
take 3 damage.
I think it's a really good card. I mean, a lot
Yeah.
of people are,
You could sideboard it against 3-color decks if they're trying to,
Yeah.
because the mana bases are going to be a little shakier. Here in
exactly.
standard. Next card is Perforos.
Oh,
He's
jeez.
the red god.
Yeah.
3 colors and 1 red. He becomes a 6/5 as he's active. He has 1 red and 2 colorless for his active ability. Creatures you control get 1/0 until the end of turn. So what do you call it? Like a group fire breathing?
Yeah,
Like,
basically.
everything you have has fire breathing for 3 mana. But his passive is what makes him dumb. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, he deals 2 damage to each opponent.
Yeah.
So there
Just
are
absolutely
really
ridiculous.
dumb ways to trigger that.
Oh yeah.
And-
You could do infinite combos off of him pretty easily.
Yeah, like there are a lot of dumb ways. So, like, in limited, he's already dumb. All the gods are, but I expect him to see constructed play somewhere.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Or at least people will try it if it never takes off.
If push comes to shove, he fits right into just like a red deck wins. You
Yeah,
know, I mean, if you're dropping a 1-drop, a 2-drop,
Then anything you drop after that has shock attached to it.
yeah,
and
you can drop
and
him
they
for the
have fire
6/5.
breathing.
Yeah.
Like not quite as good fire breathing, but anything.
No, I mean, it gives you at
anything
least a
pull off
mana
the top.
sink when at that point when it's like
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to play. Well, I'll just do extra damage
Yeah.
to you.
Anything you pull off the top, suddenly it comes in with a shock and has extra damage.
Yeah, exactly.
So it wouldn't be too bad, maybe. But next card is Spark Joel, and this is the half of Magma Jet.
Literally.
1 red does 1 damage to a creature player scry 1.
Yeah.
So take everything about Magmajet, cut it in half.
Exactly. It's just like, I don't understand why you would put this into the same set as Magmajet. You know, it's just like
I don't know.
I mean, same. Just everything's in half. Like, really?
Okay. Next card is Storm Breath Dragon, which is the real deal. This guy's replacing what's
Firemaw?
What's the stupid Hellkite? Thundermaw Hellkite?
Yeah, Thundermaw.
Yeah, Thundermaw Hellkite is the 5/5. So you get 1 less power and toughness, but your flying and haste is a 4/4 with protection from white.
Right.
So, like, holy crap. I'm going to play this guy in Modern because he has protection from path now.
Right.
You know?
Plus,
So,
he also
like,
has a monster.
yeah, and he has a monstrous, so if you get to 7 mana, 2 red, 5 colors, he gets +3/+3, so he becomes a 7/7, and he deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of cards in their hand.
Man.
So that's a sudden impact. He does a sudden impact and becomes a 7/7. So like you're basically playing a 4/4 flying with haste, protection from white, and if you get the mana, you got the upside. You
Right.
know? Like that's pretty good.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
So you know.
I do like that.
Thank you, Wizards,
Yeah.
because you've been making a few dragons in the past few sets that don't suck.
Right. Finally. It took him long enough.
So moving on to green, we got Arbor Colossus, which is 5 converted mana cost, 2 colors, 3 green for a 6/6 with reach.
Yep.
And it also has monstrous for 6 converted mana cost. When it becomes monstrous 3.
Right.
Because it becomes a 9/9 and it destroys a target creature with flying an opponent controls.
Yeah. Which is ridiculous, because if you think about it, you drop that turn 5, and then turn 6, you turn
you
it to a
immediately
9/9 and
with
just
reach.
swing.
Yeah.
It's like, ugh. Yeah, that's definitely a
That
big
guy's
bomb
good.
there. Yeah.
Next card is Boon Satyr. 3 color,
Yeah, this card's crazy.
3 converted mana cost. 2 green, 1 colors for a 4/2 flash.
Yeah.
So
That's the
already
real
good.
deal right there.
But he has Bestow at 5.
Yep.
2 green, 3 colors, enchanted creature gets +4/+2, and you can bestow at instant
Next speed. Yes, you can.
So being able to flash +4/+2 onto a creature permanently,
Right.
and then when that creature dies, you get a 4/2. Like that's very good.
amazing, yeah.
Even just 3 for 4/2 is fine.
Yeah, exactly.
So like that's a good creature all around. It is a rare, so yeah, that's what's going to happen. Bowl of Nylia.
Yeah.
Once again, Weapon of the Gods. 2 colors, 1 green. Attacking creatures you control have Death Touch. So like,
Right.
once again, you just cannot compete with me because all my dudes there can have Death Touch now.
Right.
So you just can't block. And then the activated abilities on it's dumb.
Dumbest.
1 green, 1 colors, and you can either put a 1/1 counter on a creature, deal 2 damage to a creature with flying, gain 3 life, or put 4 cards from your graveyard onto the bottom of your library.
Yeah, it's just
So you
ridiculous.
can fight mill, kill a flyer, gain life, so like you just can't race me because I can gain 3 every turn.
Right.
And you can't block me because everything has Death Touch.
Or I just get my
You
creatures
just win.
big.
You
Yeah.
just win!
Yeah, yeah.
Or just keep putting your 1/1 up.
Yeah.
Once again, Weapon of the Gods, you just win.
Yep.
Fade into Antiquity is the 1 green, 2 colors, exile an artifact or enchant. Expect to see this in sideboards everywhere.
Yes, sorcery speed.
Coming
is
soon
such
to
a-
sideboards near you.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Next card is Hunt the Hunter. It is the green hate cycle.
Yep.
Target green creature you control gets +2/+2 and fights a green creature an opponent controls.
Yep.
For 1 green sorcery.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's okay.
I mean, it's the fact that a lot of people. I was talking to somebody about it. They didn't realize that it says fights target green creature, so you
Yeah.
have to have the 2 targets in order for
Yeah.
you to actually cast it. So be aware of that.
So it is a little more narrow than the already very narrow card sideboard or hate cycle.
Yeah, Miscut Hydra is next, and this card I love.
It is 1 green and X, which most Hydras I think usually have X in them. It can't be countered, has haste, protection from blue, and enters the battlefield with X1 counters.
Yeah.
So it can't be countered, has haste, and pro blue, and it's a Hydra.
Yeah.
So
At least
it's
it's
not
more-
bad. I
yeah,
do like
it's-
that it has haste.
Yeah, that's the thing I like about it. It does have haste, where it can kind of get around some of the dang board control that people usually play.
I liked the Hydra from Core Set, that when it
Yeah.
dies you get to distribute 1/1 counters.
Right.
Because then you're not worried about it just dying and doing nothing while you die.
Right, exactly.
Because this one, even though it can't be countered and it has pro blue, it still can just die and you spent 7
Yeah,
mana.
7 mana for a Doomblade.
Whatever. It'll still be great.
Right.
Next card is Nemesis of Mortals. It's
Another
6
card I
for a
like.
5/5. It costs 1 color. It's 4 colors, 2 green. It costs 1 color less for each creature card in your graveyard.
Yep.
Or in your graveyard only. And it has a monstrous at 9, but it also costs 1 colorless for each creature card in the graveyard, and it's just monstrous 5.
Yep.
So it's 6 for a 5/5, and of course will be probably cheaper. And It's going to be 1 or 2
Right.
It's in a graveyard.
It's like-
So it's a cheap 5/5, and then the monstrous is probably somewhat cheap at like 5 or 6 mana.
Yeah.
To make it a 10/10.
10/10, right? Yeah, the card's just
It's an
silly.
uncommon, and it's a pretty solid uncommon.
Yeah,
So expect
absolutely.
to see that in green dice.
Yeah.
And now we're on to Nylia. She's the green god. 3 colors and 1 green. For her passive is creatures have trample. If she gets active, she's a 6/6.
Yeah.
But like most cards, she does not affect herself. Other creatures have trample. But she does have an activated ability, which I like to call it. She's kind of like half a Wolf Run.
Right.
Although Wolf Run you had to tap to get it active.
Yeah.
It costs 4 mana to pump +2/+2.
Yeah.
But that's her activated ability. 1 green, 3 colorless to give a creature +2/+2.
Right.
So I do like her. Of course, in limited, awesome.
Yeah, of
But in a sideboard in standard, because like I can almost have a Wolf Run.
Mhm.
You know, although I do have to have 8 mana before I can activate it twice. Still, it turns everything I play into a threat.
Exactly. And plus, since they have also trample, you
Yeah.
can actually go over the creatures and still deal damage to the
Yeah.
opponent now.
Having that ability to pump anywhere
Right,
and actually
exactly.
pump toughness is somewhat of an upside over Wolf Run, although Wolf Run took a landslide, so we won't really compare
True.
that. But I like to say, it turns everything you have into a threat, similar to how Wolf Run did.
Right.
Because they already have trample.
Exactly.
And now you can pump them. So I like Nylia.
I do too.
I pretty much like all the gods, at least to some degree. They're good
Right.
cards. But next is the Ordeal, which is the green Ordeal. So you
Green
know what
Ordeal's
Ordeals
pretty
do?
good.
When you
Badass.
sack it, you search your library for 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield tap. So like, it's not completely terrible. All the Ordeals are decent.
Right.
I mean, you do get to like rip 2 lands out and get
Yeah.
yourself up 2 land. But like by the time you actually got this active, you're probably already at turn 5 or 6.
Right.
I mean, it'd have to be turn 5 at the least, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you'd have to have a turn
You'd
1 dude.
play it on
turn
turn 2.
So it'd be turn 4 at the least.
Yeah.
But
Still puts you up lands, but more importantly, it does rip out lands out of
yeah,
your library.
the problem is it doesn't actually affect the board in really any favor. It doesn't affect the board. It
Yeah.
affects your land count.
Yeah,
really,
exactly.
And it affects your deck. So
Right.
it has positive effects, but not quite as good as the
Yeah,
other.
exactly.
Next card is Pelucranos. And I've mentioned him before,
Mhm.
earlier in the preview. He's 2 green and 2 colors for a 5/5 already.
Right.
And he's all about his monsters, because we've had the 4 for 5/5s before, like Deadbridge Goliath or whatever.
Yeah.
And he has double X green.
Right.
So, like, you have to pay, like, 5 mana just to make that 2. Monstrous 2. And whenever he becomes monstrous, it deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of creatures. So if you paid 5 mana, you'd get 2 damage to divide.
Right.
And it's only creatures that it can do damage to. And each of those creatures deals damage equal to his power to Pelucranos.
Right.
So I don't really like his monsters that much.
Right.
He's still 4 for a 5/5 for limited. I love him.
Fight me. It's
I know.
just like, ugh.
But he's still 4 for a 5/5 for limited, and his monstrous is okay. You still pump him up. He'll be a
Right.
7/7 if you pay 5 mana.
Yeah. I mean, if you can get him late enough, and use
Yeah.
his monsters at like some huge amount, then
Yeah.
he's awesome.
And it is X damage divided as you choose. So
Right.
you can't just fight one thing.
Yeah,
So,
you can
like,
just blow up one guy. It's like, oh, your 3/3 is dead, and it's not
Yeah.
gonna kill me anyways. And it's like, whatever. And I'm an
so
8/8.
He's good. I really doubt he'll see constructed play.
Nah, I
but
don't think.
Who knows?
Yeah, not. I mean, there's better 4 mana 5/5s that actually have
Yeah.
relevant.
I think even
abilities.
Deadbridge Goliath was more relevant just because.
Yeah. I mean, hell, even like Rumbling Slum, at least it's doing 1 damage to everybody at every turn,
Yeah, I
guaranteed.
So the next card is Reverent Hunter. It's just 2 colors and 1 green.
This
When
card
it-
is insane.
It comes in as a 1/1, but when it enters the battlefield, you get 1/1 counters on it equal to your Devotion of Green.
So it's minimum a 2/2 for 3
it's
mana.
at
Big
least
deal.
a 2/2 at 3 mana,
But
but
it can
it
be
should be a lot better.
Oh,
It
yeah.
should be probably a 4/4. I'm going to say at least.
I mean, I can see it.
I wouldn't want to cast it unless it's at least a 4/4.
Right, but I mean, I could see it in standard, especially like a mono green
Yeah.
deck. Holy
It'd be like a
mackerel.
5/5 or something. or
Easily, I
6/6.
like on turn 3. Like
Yeah.
you could go like first turn experiment 1 or
Yeah.
Dry Orbit. Follow that up by
Clone.
Burning Tree Emissary.
Oh, wow.
Following with like
Burning Tree, Colonian Tusker.
Right.
Then next turn cast that.
Yeah,
Just 7/7.
exactly. Just like smash. Yeah, so I mean, there's definitely combos with him that you could just do some silly stuff with. So you
Yeah.
gotta be very cautious on.
Yeah,
him.
you could definitely run him in the Burning Tree deck
Yeah.
because you get to cast this guy before they get to cast Anger of Gods, assuming you're on the play.
Right, exactly, and he's gonna
So-
be bigger than all of them.
He'll be
so-
bigger than the Anger of Gods at least.
Exactly.
Next card is Sylvan Caryatid. Karited?
Yeah, something like that.
It's 1 green and 1 colors for an 0/3 hexproof defender bird of paradise.
Yeah, it's Utopia tree that actually has a
it
mono
is a
side.
Utopia tree.
I mean, it really is.
To compare more to
Yeah.
Utopia tree. But it has hexproof. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But Utopia tree didn't have a defender.
True.
You could actually attack with it if you put a sword on it.
Yeah, that's true.
Your tree comes in, barging in with a sword. Anyways.
Fire and ice or something silly.
It's a mana dork that can't be shocked.
Right.
Even if it didn't have hexproof, it couldn't be shocked. But
I mean,
it's a mana dork they can't deal with, although you don't get it turn 1. So it could kind of replace Farseek-ish.
Yeah,
In
exactly.
mana fixing, but you don't have the ability to rip out the land. Like Farseek.
But I mean, the good thing is that it is mana fixing, and it's something that we definitely need
it's
right
there.
now.
Expect it to see some play. It's not super great.
Yeah,
but it's the mana fixing. It's what we got in standard. So
Okay.
we'll move on to multicolor.
Which is so weird that they actually have multicolored in this set that has, devotion, but, whatever.
Yeah.
And there's 25 cards that have...
For multicolor, I think we'll just hit some key cards, because a lot of these some of them aren't going to be relevant, like, so who cares?
Yeah,
like, we'll talk about some of the rares. Like, Annex and Samid is one of the most powerful heroic effects in here.
Yeah.
3 converted mana costs, 1 white, 1 red, 1 colorless for a 3/2 first strike vigilance.
Right.
And its heroic is all your creatures get 1/1 and trample.
Until entering, it's going to be relevant no matter what.
So yeah, that's definitely good limited.
Time to talk about Ashiok.
Ashiok is a planeswalker that I'm not that interested in about. Like,
I think that he definitely is a limited bomb.
He's 1 blue, 1 black, 1 colorless, comes in at 3 loyalty. +2 is exile the top 3 cards of target opponent's library. So it's mill 3, but they don't get it in their graveyard.
Yeah.
Then he has a -X where you can put a creature with converted mana cost X that you've exiled with Ashiok onto the battlefield under your control. And it's a nightmare in addition to its other types. So basically you want to +2 a couple times, hope you can protect your Ashiok, and then get some of their dudes.
Right.
So that's not bad. His -10 is exile all cards from all opponents' hands and graveyards, which is like...
Yeah, I don't know.
That's just, what, Identity Crisis or something?
Yeah, it's Identity Crisis, basically.
And for 10?
Yeah, for 10.
Okay, like, that's why I'm not that thrilled with him.
You gotta activate him 4 times, and then hope that you can do that.
I'm not...
I mean, I can see him getting
I
played
want
in
to like him.
some constructed, definitely. I can see him being played in it. Especially in, maybe standard right now, because everything's so cheap, since most decks are going to be playing aggressive anyways.
I don't know.
But at the same time, it's just I don't know how I feel about him. He's okay.
Yeah.
Fleecemane Lion, we have to talk about
Fleecemane Lion is just... We talked about him earlier. We almost said all we needed to. He's 1 green, 1 white for a 3/3, so he's a Watch Wolf. But he has Monstrous.
Yeah.
And Monstrous is only 1, so he becomes a 4/4, but he becomes indestructible and has hexproof as well. Yeah. So he's nearly impossible to deal with. And his Monstrous is 5 mana.
Yeah.
So you play him early on as a beater, and then later on he just becomes a 4/4 that just can't be dealt with.
Right. Yeah, he's definitely the real deal.
Expect to see him.
We're specking on standard being mainly white green aggro.
I'm expecting white green not mainly to be white green, but I'm expecting white green to be a competitor.
Oh yeah, mainly.
And definitely, I'm also expecting red green X.
Yeah,
right. To be a competitor, because there's a lot of powerful red green stuff. Midomai is 4 colors, 1 white, 1 blue. And it's 6 for a 4/4 flyer, but when it deals combat damage to a player, you get to take an extra turn. You get to time walk, and this card can't attack during extra turn, so you can't chain it that way.
Right.
But we've talked about other dumb shenanigans. So you can get extra turns.
Yeah, there's other ways that you can...
So definitely, once again, most rares and stuff are limited bomb. Might see constructed play. Definitely we'll see play in Commander or something.
Oh, yeah.
Not really sure if they'd ever see standard play or even...
No, I don't think I would see any really constructed play like that. But yeah, it's definitely a limited bomb. Somebody opens that up and smash you with it, you're pretty much in game over.
No kidding.
Steam Augury is interesting,
It's a Steam Augury. It's the reverse Factor Fiction.
Yeah.
You reveal the top 5 cards, you make the 2 piles.
Right.
And then an opponent chooses which one.
Exactly. I really like it.
Keep. So it's kind of reverse Factor Fiction.
I really like it because it really can play mind games with the opponent.
I really do too.
Okay, I separated it out this way. Which one?
Yeah,
Which pile are you going to give me?
We were talking about like you have you have the sweeper in hand, but you separated like one sweeper in the four things. While they have a board presence,
right?
They're going to be like, they don't want to give you that sweeper, so they just give you 4 cards.
Right, exactly, for 4 mana. It's like, thank you.
And then you're just like, Supreme Verdict.
Right.
You just screwed yourself.
Yeah,
like,
I think red, white, blue.
Double sweepers.
Yeah, I think red, white, and blue like that could really be nasty.
Yeah, I want to fit some Steam Auguries into a deck.
Definitely. We definitely got to talk about Underworld Servers.
Underworld Servers. I want to see this card go places. It's 3 colorless and a black and a red, so it's 5 mana for a 6/6. Can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures. Cards in graveyards can't be the target of spells or abilities. And when it dies, it exiles itself and then returns all creature cards from all graveyards to their owner's hand.
Yeah.
So, like, I think it's retarded because, like, this is a good top end for a somewhat aggressive deck, because then if it dies, it refills your hand.
True.
And, like, I want to play it in a Jund list, is what I was specking on, and play it with Ooze. So, like, when it dies, when the trigger goes on the stack, you exile their best crap.
Right.
So you get, like, a fistful of creatures back, and they get, like, one stupid card that you let them have.
Right.
You know?
It's like, here you go.
But even just being a 6/6 nearly unblockable is freaking awesome. I really like the guy.
I just wish there was more ways to exile, like, specific cards from a graveyard besides just skews right now.
Yeah. Because it does hose abilities. It hoses your Scavenging Ooze and their opposing Ooze. But if you have one when it dies, that's when the value the value train rolls in. So the next card is Xenagos. He's been hyped a lot. He's 2 colorless, a red and a green. So he's 4 mana, he comes down at 3 loyalty. His +1, though, adds X mana in any combination of red or green, where X is the number of creatures you control. So assuming you have curved out, you add 3 mana.
Yeah, exactly.
So the dream play is dropping a Xenagos +1 and then drop Dami Raid.
Right.
With your 3 mana. But his 0 is what's cool. You get a 2/2 haster, so you can just keep, shooting out 2/2 hasters. And the -6 is exile the top 7 cards of your library. You may put any number of creatures or lands from among them onto the battlefield. So it's good, but it's not like an ultimate in most cases. Yeah. It's mostly his 1 and 0.
Yeah, so this is +1 and his 0.
Because his +1, like, free mana. And his 0 is cool, too.
We got into a discussion about this at our local game shop, and basically he is Bloodbraid Elf.
Yeah,
I mean, you're going to either get a 2/2 haster, just like you would have with Bloodbraid,
3/2,
or you're just going to get, a bunch of mana and just cast something else. So a free spell.
But the difference is that the spell you're left over with is a Planeswalker.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the difference. You get your little hasty body, although it's a 2/2, not a 3/2.
Right.
But you're left with a Planeswalker, so you can keep getting 2s or whatever.
So plus you can just use that +1 ability the next turn and get even more mana and just do something stupid the following turn. Yeah, he's definitely going to be the real deal. He's going to find his way into a lot of things.
So I like him. Are there any artifacts you want to go over?
Colossus of Ukros, I do want to talk about. It's just stupid.
He's an 8-cost 10/10 defender with Instructable.
Yeah.
But you have to pay 10 to activate his monstrosity, which makes him a 20/20.
Right.
Because it's monstrous 10.
Yeah.
And then he gains trample and loses defender, essentially. It can attack as though he didn't have defender.
I know.
So he becomes a 20/20 with trample.
I know. It's just like...
and he's indestructible.
It's just like, what?
Like, this guy's awesome.
Yeah, he definitely is awesome.
There he is.
Yeah, he's just like, it's not... He's going to be like the Timmy card. I mean, he definitely is the Timmy card.
Yeah, he's the new Darksteel Colossus.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the only deck I could think of that he might see play in Modern would be Tron as like the anti-Eldrazi, because he's a little bit easier to get.
Yeah, you can fetch him with an eye.
Yeah, you can get him with the eye. He's easier to cast than the Eldrazi because you can cast him on turn like 4 in that deck. You get your Tron going and 1 extra land. There's the 8. You play another Tron land. There's the 10. And there's your 20.
So he's like an Ulamog.
And he's trample.
Yeah.
So you swing once, and it's like
it's possible to play him as a 1-of because you can fetch him up.
Oh yeah,
so I
easily.
can see it.
So he might actually see some constructed play. I mean, but he's just stupid and he's funny.
He's funny.
I love it.
Yeah, I like that.
I just like those kind of stupid cards like that.
So let's talk about the temples before we close things up here. Oh well, I guess we can talk about Nykthos.
I think
first.
Nykthos is pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a what is it like? It's a Cabal Coppers, but like for devotion.
Devotion, right?
Yeah, it's like you pay 2 colorless and tap it, so effectively you tap 3 land, or 3 mana. But you get mana equal to the amount of your devotion.
Yeah.
Of whatever color you choose.
Whatever color you want.
Yeah. So, like, I'm not sure how I feel about it. A lot of people are like, this is the big thing.
No.
But
I don't think it's the big thing.
Yeah. I think it may see some play, but it's only going to be in a few decks, and I don't think they're going to be strong decks.
To be honest, it's going to be... To be honest, where I think it's going to be played in is going to be like the replacement to Gaia's Cradle.
Like in Legacy?
Like in Legacy, because it's the cheaper version of Gaia's Cradle. Because instead of having to tap, my land to get a bunch of green mana, where I'm already spending all that big green mana onto a bunch of cards that cost, 1, 2, 3 green.
Yeah.
I can just tap 2 and tap that and get a ton of green mana right there.
Yeah.
So that's about the only place I can see it.
I think it's okay. I think it's pre-ordering at like $10.
Yeah, it's like
freaking
way
$10 card to me.
No, I
but
don't think so.
we'll see.
We'll see.
Never know.
You never
there
know.
Could be a
It
really
could
good mono blue could be the new thing or something. But,
Yeah.
The temples.
You mean the poop lands?
That's what I've very lovingly given them the title of poop lands.
Oh yeah.
As we've got shock lands, we've got I'll call them poop lands.
I don't blame you.
And they're not that bad. Maybe I shouldn't call them poop lands, but when they were first spoiled, that's what I thought when I saw them. That's the first thing I thought.
Right. Well, see, the problem I have with them is that they're rares that don't feel rare.
Yeah, and it's been talked to death about why they did that, but basically what sucks is they gave us a set of mana fixing that has to come into play tap.
Yep.
The Scry 1 is strong, but you have to have it come into play tap.
Yeah, but the Scry 1 isn't as strong as it could have been. I mean, if they would have actually taken that Scry to some kind of level, then it would have made sense.
But still, we have the rest of the set to see, and Scry 1 on a land, man. That's fine.
Yeah, but New Benelia did it at an uncommon, and granted, it doesn't add 2 mana, but it does the same exact effect, and it's just I just don't feel like they're, they don't give me that rare vibe. They don't make me excited that these are my mana fixing.
Yeah.
And what I really hate about them is that the color combinations that they chose really make no sense.
Well, yeah, it's the Gate Crash colors.
It's the Gate Crash colors, but I mean, at the same time, it's just like, why?
Because they said because they wanted to give it more time in Standard.
I know, but still.
I said, I don't think sets should actually affect each other in such a way.
Right.
They should have some kind of cohesion in Standard, but that's retarded.
But and my thing about it is when I think of a temple, I think of a place of worship. Therefore, I would hope that they would have had a devotion mechanic attached to it.
Scry.
They did the
they had scrying pools and or whatever.
They did in Morningtide they did, or was it Lorwyn? They did the hideaway lands and stuff. They were single colored, and then they did a cool effect. They could have done something like that with these temples. I don't
know. They definitely could have done more. That's why I've labeled them poop lands.
Yeah,
but I've become a little less. I don't hate them as much as I did when they were first spoiled, because I'm new mana fixing. I wonder what it's going to be. Always enters the battlefield tab. The first time I'm these are poop lands.
Right. That's crap. I mean, this is all.
I don't hate them but a lot of decks can't play them.
Yeah.
I know. If you're a control deck or maybe a mid-range deck, you can run a few. Their goal was they wanted it to be a little weaker, so they wanted it to be a little slower and standard. That's fine. But
at rare, it kind of makes me a little upset because you look at the land and you go, okay, well,
that's what
the thing is enter Scry 1. Okay, that's kind of cool, but we go back to the previous block and we go, wow, there's guild gates that enter the
and all they do is Scry 1. That's what a lot of people say.
Just I feel
the rarity discussion's been talked to death.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying.
I agree though. Yeah, I wish they were uncommon.
Yeah, if they were uncommon, I would have been perfectly fine with them. I mean, it's just okay, they're not the greatest, but at least I understand.
So let's go ahead and wrap it up and go over our top 5 real quick.
Okay.
Go ahead and talk about your top 5 real quick.
Yeah.
And why you
they're not really in any order. Fleecebane Lion, I just really like because it's just cheap.
Monster Kitty.
Yeah, Monster Kitty. It's 3/3 for 2 mana, and then it can get bigger and be hard to kill. That's fine. Yeah, as far as I like Thassa, God of the Sea, mainly because she's the cheapest god. The Scry one's going to always be relevant no matter what. Yeah. And her last ability to make something unblockable is going to be helpful. Pretty cool.
Especially on herself. If you get
right, absolutely. Because I'm glad that she can target herself. I mean, none of the other gods can, really.
Yeah.
Thoughtseize, just because it's Thoughtseize.
Yep.
Don't really say anything about it.
It's awesome.
Yeah, because it's awesome. I really like Fabled Hero.
And
3 mana for 2/2 double strike.
To remind you guys, that's the double strike heroic.
Yeah, double strike
3
heroic.
mana 2/2.
Yeah, I can see games getting ended quick if you get lucky enough.
Definitely.
I mean, you don't have to get super lucky, but I mean, just a giant growth, and that's a 12.
Too bad Rancor was even standard, man, because that would make him a 5/3.
Yeah,
just bloop.
5/3 trampler right
And
there. Double
say-
strike. There's 10.
We're living in magical Christmas land, but say you had all Temple Gardens.
Yeah.
And you're like, play him on turn 3, then turn 4, you have 4 Rancors in hand.
Gosh, it's like
and it's like, Rancor.
He's huge.
You
and
put
he
him up
does.
to a 6/6, and then +8 from Rancor.
Right.
It'd be 14/6.
Yeah. Trample, just like swing. Good
Double
game.
strike.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be funny.
And then my final pick is Soldier of Pantheon.
Yeah, the
that
premier
card-
1-drop.
Yeah, the premier 1-drop. I mean, protection from multicolor plus the ability to gain some life is cool. And then for like an honorable mention, I like Master of Ways.
Yeah.
It fits really good in like a blue tempo deck, like you were
Yeah.
saying. But it also fits pretty good in a blue control deck as well, where it's
You
like...
just don't have many permanents is the problem.
True, but if you look back at like M14 and Standard, you got things that can still control the board, like Claustrophobia.
Yeah.
And then you got, I mean, that's 2 blue right there.
Yeah.
You know, and in a good deck, you could play Claustrophobias, Jason, or Architect of Mind, Thassa, and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, it's just like you drop him, and it's just like, wow, big swing. So, but what about yourself?
A couple of our top 5s overlap. Like Thoughtseize and Soldier Pantheon, we've already
Obviously,
said.
yeah.
The premier 1-drop and the most awesome discard.
Yeah, Spell Upgrade.
My second, or one of them is a Stormbreath Dragon, because I think that's really going to do things.
Okay.
Like, I think it can like go in Modern, John, because I've seen lists play Thundermaw, and I think having Pro White is actually more relevant.
Yeah, because of Path of Exile being so rampant.
Because Path is like the best removal. Because what else is going to hit it? Like Terminate? I mean, every deck runs Path.
Everyone
like,
deck, yeah,
either that or they run Bolt or something. You can't Bolt it as for toughness.
Right.
So, like, I think that card is going to be the real deal.
Right.
And especially if you just make it monstrous. Like, it's just like it's all upside.
Yeah, it's 7/7,
It's just
and
awesome.
then just like smash you in the head too.
The other one is Xenagos. I'm really interested to see how he's used in Standard, because I really like the card. Like, maybe it doesn't shake up Standard a lot, but I'm gonna try and play it.
He's kind of on my fence right now. I just want to see what he does first before I can really commit either way.
That's why I said Red Green X is going to be something in Standard.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Don't know what it's going to be. Could just be Red Green. Could be John. Could be Naya. Whatever. Could be Rug. Who freaking knows? But it could be Bug. Wait, that's not Red Green.
Yeah.
But anyways. So yeah, I don't know.
Right.
He'll do something, I expect.
True.
And I don't know. Playing him with Domri and playing the creature deck just seems cool.
Yeah.
The next one is Underworld Cerberus, and I've kind of talked about that. Like, it can do things, and I really want it to.
Right.
Like, I just want to see it fit in a deck, and I want it to be awesome.
Right.
Because it is awesome. It just needs to have a good deck to...
Yeah, just got to find the right spot for it.
And like I said, I'm kind of specking on doing a John with it. And, but a more creature-heavy John, less mid-range, and more like I'm just going to drop dudes, play Xenagos, play Domri, play Ooze, play that, play Burning Tree. You know, there's a ton of good cards you can just throw on the board, and
right. And if they all die, it doesn't matter because I'm just gonna get them all back.
Either that, or I'm hitting you for 6. Like,
right.
You can't block this very easily, or if you do, I just 3 for 1 you, he dies, and I get everything back. So
right.
Like I don't know. I think there's a lot of upside, a lot to be explored.
Yeah.
My honorable mention is like the new hate cycle. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I definitely like.
It'll be in sideboards, or at least some of them will. My other honorable mention is Hero's Downfall. It's just freaking awesome removal.
Yeah, it's great.
I wish it wasn't rare, but all the good removal lately has been rare.
Yeah, exactly. So. It's definitely usable. So
I think that's going to wrap up our Theros podcast.
Yeah,
and our set review. Kind of you've seen how we feel about most cards, about most of the set. We'll see how the limited format plays out.
Definitely.
And we may be back for another episode before GPOKC, kind of giving our thoughts on what we expect for the format to be.
Especially since we at least have a draft or two after this.
And
so
we may hit up all the pre-releases stuff.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
As many as I can.
So that's Garcia and Skylar, a.k.a. Yoshi and Aeolian out.